What is going on, everybody? It is episode 223 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Nation. It's Mary. You are some spoiled crisis actors because not only did you have fresh faces to meet yesterday, but you have another one today, someone you might have seen on YouTube before. Sir, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, my name is Rusty Cage. I am an internet bum, musician. I make YouTube videos, and yeah, you may have seen me on the internet, possibly sometime in the past 10 years, hopefully recently.
That was actually going to be my first question, was like, how long have you been making videos?
Probably since 2008.
Wow.
I mean,
Kind of an OG.
really since YouTube started,
Yeah.
but that was like 2006, but I didn't really do anything serious.
No, like I was just checking the other day. My YouTube channel goes all the way back to 2005. Like, 'cause
Oh, wow.
Skating was some of the first stuff you started putting on those channels because
Yeah.
it was like the first place that you could put content out where you could get it to people that wouldn't normally be able to get your content. So my channel goes back to like December
Okay.
of 2005 or something like that.
I didn't even know
So-
it went back that far.
Yeah. So you make music. I listened to some of your music. I
Uh-huh.
liked it. Musical influences.
Tom Waits.
Okay. I said
You could
Leonard
hear
Cohen.
that.
That's what I meant. Tom Waits. Yeah, I was like the first thing I thought of was like I was listening to a couple of different songs recently.
I feel like that's probably at this point the closest or the biggest influence where
Yeah.
I don't know, I try to emulate some of his stuff, but a lot of really I get musical influence from everyone. 9 Inch Nails, Stravinsky, Al Jolson.
And then you make you don't just make music. You do other types of content as well.
Yeah, I make comic books. I just shift around everything. I get
Yeah.
bored of one thing and I move to something else. So yeah, like
Physical media comic books.
yeah.
Oh wow! Like through like a publisher, or through like Indiegogo or Kickstarter.
Yeah, I'll fund it through Indiegogo. That's what I've been doing. I have 3 out so far. It's like
That's awesome.
they're about 40 pages a piece.
Who do you work with on those? Or do you do that all by yourself?
Yeah, I do all the writing
Wow.
and illustrations myself. I have one guy who I'm trying to integrate for the art just so I can get them done a lot quicker.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to delegate out those tasks. It feels like you want to do everything to have full creative control. But but I'm working on finding an artist that has like a similar style.
I follow like a lot of like the independent comics creators that make their own stuff through like Indiegogo and stuff like that. And I enjoy following that process, seeing them make that, because it's not really the same thing as like it was back in the day when you were getting an issue every month at a comic book store. It is more of a prestige type product now where people aren't just buying the comic, they're buying the experience of being able to be part of the creation of it.
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, yeah, when you're mass producing comics, through a major publisher like even like Dark Horse or something. Yeah,
IDW.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, doing it yourself, especially with Indiegogo, you can give people all these extra perks, and they can see the progress along the way.
That's what people are in it for now. They're not just in it for the comic. If anything, like a lot of them talk about how that ends up being kind of like when they're done, they review it and they're like, and it's done. But it was like what they enjoyed was the process of watching it get made through a creator, which means you're not just like a creator, and that kind of goes to all of content creation now. Like you're no longer allowed to just be one thing. If you're going to be successful on your own, you have to kind of be able to, like, Ethan Van Sciver doesn't just make comics and draw comics. He's also a personality that does his streams every day.
Right.
And you're more than just that content, that type of content. So
yeah, you have to do everything. I mean, you have to, especially the production side of it, you have to know lighting and editing and writing, all that stuff. Yeah, if you want to make comics, you have to get in front of people's eyes and get them to give you money.
yeah.
So you brought up Ethan, and I don't know if he's had a falling out with another creator, Doug TenNapel.
Yeah, the guy who made Earthworm Jim.
He's the one that got me kind of set up doing comics because I didn't really know anything about how to get into it, how to publish them. And
Ethan or Doug?
Doug did.
Doug, yeah. Doug is like he had his he had launched his Earthworm Jim relaunch back in like 2020 or something like that. It would have been around that time. I follow all that stuff. It's a very fascinating industry to see, kind of a place where it's no longer the strongest medium for youth. If anything, you're making things kind of for an older generation now in a lot of ways, and it's kind of it's a form of art frozen in time.
Right.
because these people, they don't want it, like the new generation of those creators, they're not looking to have them turned into TV shows. They believe that there's enough strength behind the art form itself,
Yeah.
the art form of creating comics, that they don't need that other stuff, but they can also do it with the action figures. I know Ethan does, like, he's been doing, like, action figures with his and stuff, and they have all the perks and stuff like that. It's kind of fascinating to watch that industry blossom.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, too, is like all the merch that I've made around the comic just for the sake of adding more perks for people to incentivize them to pitch on the campaign. It's crazy how much money they've made from it.
Yeah.
I mean, comic books, you would think it's kind of like a dead industry, or I don't know, it feels like it's dying.
The
but
mainstream part of it, it does feel like it's like we're going to be talking about Warner Brothers Discovery today, and like
Right.
what's one of the interesting things I thought about was like there is no reference to the comic book division getting cut from there.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like Zach from Comics Mattered, when he relaunched his most recent Jawbreakers campaign, he sold the comic for $1, and the idea it was like $1 or $2, and the idea is that like, it doesn't get people come there to buy that, but then they buy a package, then they buy the back issues that they don't have yet, they buy the cards,
Right,
whatever
right.
other merch is. It's all about kind of taking your merchandise outward and giving people more than one product to purchase.
Yeah, I have a buddy who he's trying to launch his new comic. I'm not sure if it's out yet, but he's going to try that method. I don't know if he's giving it away for free or doing like $1 method.
Yeah.
It seems like that can go two directions. You could either lose a lot of money in production costs and shipping costs, because it's definitely expensive to print and ship these out.
Yeah, that's what's going on right now with Eric July. He's there's insane shipping costs because he sold so many that
He spent like what, $20,000 just shipping these out.
just
yeah.
because it's his first comic. It's like he doesn't have like strong relationships built yet. He didn't have strong relationships built yet with like suppliers in the supply chain. So he kind of lost. He had to lose like $20K on the shipping project.
You have to factor that in for sure. I think I spent $16,000-$17,000 shipping
Wow.
out just the last comic that I put out, and you definitely have to factor that in whenever people are purchasing it. And it kind of sucks because just to send like a 40-page comic about that big, standard size comic, but a little thicker than a normal, monthly issue, overseas can cost $27. Yeah, and it goes up all the time. So sometimes you'll have a campaign and you'll factor those shipping costs in, and by the time it comes around to actually ship out the product, they've already raised the shipping rates. So then you end up losing money on shipping.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely insane.
It kind of shows you just how like these businesses became as strong as they are because these major corporations have these relationships built with these supply chains and stuff like that independent creators just don't have the access to early on. But it shows you how much work it took to get those corporations to that size.
Yeah, where they could afford to ship these comics. I mean, it'd be great to find someone like in Europe that I could just send a huge bulk amount of comics to, and then they handle it. But I don't know how. Then you have to worry about storage fees and all that.
And something similar like that happened to somebody that I knew who was he was like the first importer of kendamas here in the USA. Do you know what kendama is? It's like
No.
it's like the ball in a cup. It's got the three
Oh,
prongs
yeah.
on it,
Yeah.
like that. He imported them because he found them in Japan or wherever when he was traveling, and he's like there could be a market for this here. And like I just remember a lot of talk about shipping and all of the costs and expenses that came with that when you were doing it independently and not through a company that was already established.
Yeah, I mean, someone's like, hey, I'd love to buy your comic, but I don't have $45.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I mean, I got to cover my printing costs and then, actually try to make some profit on it.
And that's why, like, when people are doing it through a corporation, you can make it for cheaper because the creator is he's just the artist and just the person who's working on a salary for a corporation. They can afford to do that because they're mass producing. When you're not mass producing at that level, you have to make it about the experience, which is really what crowdfunding has become.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. If they're printing out way higher volumes of comics, knowing that they can, they'll get less printing costs. Also, when you're working for one of these, production companies or these comic companies, normally they'll pay you. They'll say, "All right, we'll buy the rights to your comic. We'll give you $40,000, and from that, you have to hire your artists and your writers and your colorists and letterers and all that. And anything left over, you can keep." which is normally not very much, and then they make the profit. So when I was talking to Doug TeNapel about that, he was telling me all that because I think he'd worked for Dark Horse. I'm not really sure, but he's like, yeah, just crowdfund it. You can keep all the money, and people are much more willing to support the actual artist than some faceless company.
What's the name of the comic?
Requiem of the Crazies. It's about homeless people. These particularly two it's about a homeless community that's being overrun by a cult leader who's trying to kind of poison their food with psychedelic drugs and get them indoctrinated into his cult.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of things involved, but it's
I love that.
The problem is like it takes so long to make them that it's like, how do I keep people's interest when it takes me a year to make 45 pages and get everything ready and printed? I took a break from essentially everything like music and YouTube back in 2018 just to focus on it. And I'm doing the math. I'm like, all right, if this is going to be 8 issues long, then it's not going to be done until like I'll be 37, 38 or something.
Like, and that's if everything goes according to plan.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. If everything goes according to plan, and so it's like hopefully I can keep people's attention, or if they're just gonna age out of it and say I don't even remember what was happening in the story. I don't know. It's it might have been more than I could chew, but now I've already started, so I have to finish it one way or the other.
Yeah.
And once it's done, then it's fine because I'll have the completed story. It's always good to have kind of like intellectual property like that because it can sell indefinitely.
Yeah.
If people I find new people in the future who eventually will buy the entire series. So doing stuff like that's good because it's just compounding merchandise. If someone buys an album, they'll buy the comic. If they buy issue 1, they're going to want to buy issue 2 and 3.
People kind of have to be multifaceted now. You can't just make it on one. Think about we joke a lot about musicians and actors all becoming activists, right? Like
You need a portfolio.
Yeah, you need a portfolio, or a big one is wine. Like a lot of like actors are starting their own wine company.
Yeah, and
that's
Frankie
weird.
Muniz moved into like making artisan olive oil
Really?
or something.
That's cool.
And he raced like NASCAR or like NASCAR or something
like that.
after
but
he quit
that's
the show.
mostly just because he forgot acting.
Well, he got hurt
Interesting.
too. He got like a really bad injury. I was just reading about something about him recently. 'Cause
His memory loss was such that like he did not remember being
Yeah.
a child actor. So I understand why he would go into different things from there. But yeah, like you've got to have a hyphenated portfolio or hyphenated title for who you are.
He said he didn't
now.
remember any of Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like imagine doing
Especially
that
that
many
he's
years.
acted after that.
Yeah.
Is crazy.
Think about like something like, especially a show like that. That's not like a 1-season show. That was like a successful show that like now people are gonna come up to him and like quote stuff at him. He's like, I don't know what the hell you're
He
talking
grew
about.
up on that
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
So that's a significant amount of his life.
It's like not remembering your childhood.
Right. Yeah,
It's kind
exactly.
of sad, but like to him, it's not sad. It's just his life.
He seems all right. I mean, I remember he was in a band for a while,
Yeah.
and so he's just kind of still living life. You know, he's not in the limelight, but it doesn't seem
Yeah.
like it really bothers him.
His Twitter's funny as hell.
Really, I'm gonna have to check it out.
What's on it?
He just seems like perfectly dejected at all times, but has a good sense of humor.
Yeah, well, sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about Warner Brothers backtracking. They backtracked on their diversity and inclusion directors and writers workshop program, which they had cut, which I initially thought had to do with Backlash that they got, but I tend to believe that
What
David Zaslav,
Backlash?
a lot of people were writing articles about this stuff, that it was bad that they cut this program.
I thought you meant they were getting backlash for having the program.
No. They were getting backlash for cutting the program. I tend to believe that David Zaslav is kind of a Chad and doesn't really care.
But
there's
if he were a
legal
Chad, he
reason.
wouldn't have backtracked.
No, I think there's a legal reason here that somebody pointed out that I do believe is the point that has to do with their basically the guild, like their union.
Okay.
So we'll get into that. We're also going to talk about Kanye West because he is a constant source of news right now, and he doesn't even have a movie coming out, and that's amazing, right? Because we're always talking about how all these people say controversial things right before like a new movie came out. I don't think he has anything coming out right now.
I don't think he's planning anything. He's just on a roll right now.
If anything, he's pulling away from his brands like
Yeah.
Adidas and all
He's
these
trying to get out
places.
of contracts.
Yeah. So we're going to do that, and then afterwards we're going to talk about the absolute crap show that was TwitchCon this year, and a bunch of thank you
guys.
a bunch of stuff. They said, Mary, if you're bored, talk in the chat. Are you bored,
I
Mary?
haven't ever like added something to the chat before. Yesterday we kind of established that they're their own.
They are their own entity. They're a world unto themselves up there. So we'll do that. We got Podluck. We got a bunch of other stuff. So if you guys are ready to get into it, we'll get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
We're ready.
Rusty, are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So it says, Warner Brothers Discovery makes U-turn on closure of Writers and Directors Workshop, moves initiative to diversity unit. But before we get into that part of it, we are going to first go through the original, what led to this incident, which says, Warner Brothers TV layoffs, studio cuts 26% of the workforce between unscripted, scripted, and animation divisions. And then the animation and unscripted divisions are merging functions.
Yeah.
So we looked at the original number. It was 125 total positions were cut from their Warner Brothers television division. I immediately thought, I was like, it's that small, that 26% is 125 people only, but it's just the television division of this company. Obviously, Warner Brothers is a much larger media apparatus.
So the 82 people they fired, their positions have been eliminated too?
Yes.
What were they?
They're merging with other departments or with people that were probably coming in from Discovery.
Okay.
So it says, Deadline revealed Monday that the cuts would likely come today, and revealed that earlier that Warner Brothers TV was shutting down digital production arm Stage 13 in its Warner Brothers Television Workshop, a key plank in finding and mentoring new and diverse talent. Well, there was a lot of unhappiness when they found out that they were cutting this workshop, which apparently, from what the research that I gleaned from like hearing people on like insiders talk about it in the comments, which a lot of the people on Deadline, whether they're telling the truth or not, talk about how they work in the industry, because it's an industry website, right? Like most people aren't checking Deadline or Variety and stuff like that. And basically they're saying that out of like all the studios, they have to have some similar type of program that's designed for mentoring young directors and writers. It's part of their the collective bargaining agreement with the Directors Guild of America.
Yeah, the selling point of putting the Writers Directors Workshop into the DEI division is that they'll be able to go beyond just potential writers and directors and get like animators, music people, any type of person into a mentorship.
But the thing is, they kept talking about cuts like that. Like the really annoying one was like the whitewashing of Warner Brothers. I'm like, 26% is going to be a lot more than one race, ethnicity, or gender.
Right.
A lot of people are going to lose their job, and making it about that is annoying to me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people are definitely mad that is it because their positions are redundant?
Yeah, because they're likely going to merge with other divisions of Discovery, which is the company that bought out Warner Brothers.
Right. So why wouldn't they just say it's because of racism? That's why.
They'll call it streamlining.
Yes.
Right.
Synergy. I love corporate speak. Synergy, which nobody actually knows what that means. Only if once you're anointed the position of CEO, you're given the dictionary for what all those words that they use mean that nobody in the real world actually says.
You go,
Their
it's all
Chief
nonsense.
Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer
What does that mean?
said, by continuing this successful Warner Brothers TV initiative through the DEI division, we ensure that Warner Brothers Discovery's continued commitment to training and development continues. Additionally, this is a strong example of how DEI plans to leverage our recently announced Creative Council to best align with our internal partners.
That's
like
literally...
they just keep going and going with this synergy language, and I don't understand it. This is not a human language.
No, normal people don't talk like that.
This is social engineering is so the opposite of actually like being compassionate. Or understanding or profitable or efficient.
Well, even think about talking like that. It's like when you listen to somebody talk like that, it's not like that's anybody's individual experience. No one person writes like that. No
I
one
saw
person
one
talks like that.
person who was mad on Twitter that actually made a good point. He said, if you are mad about Zaslav cutting this, like before the news came out that they was back, if you want Zaslav gone, unsubscribe from HBO Max.
Yeah.
Don't watch House of the Dragon, and that will show him. In fact, it's the only way to do that. Otherwise, he's called your bluff. And he said this news is a bummer, but are we shocked that the guy they hired to make cuts is making cuts? No, we're not.
$3 billion was what they said they needed to make when Warner Brothers and Discovery merged. They said they needed to make $3 billion in cuts to move towards profitability, right? So they canceled Batgirl, and they canceled Scoob, and they canceled all these other programs that
canceled that J.J. Abrams
I forgot
series.
the name of it. It even had a pretentious name. I forgot the name. It was this really pretentious Demimonde or something like that. And they gave J.J. Abrams like a $250 million contract like a year ago, and he's done exactly nothing with it.
Wow.
Like nice work if you can get it, where they just give you like he's actually making stuff for
I
like
thought that
Apple
was a finished series though.
No.
Demimonde.
The others, but they gave him like an open contract. Remember, he was supposed to do the Black Superman movie that they were pitching with Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Oh, okay. There was some other finished series that got canceled recently.
As if anybody wanted to see a Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman movie ever in the history of the world.
It's just like gay Superman.
Yes,
that got cut too.
And that comic just got canceled.
They probably knew that was going to happen. This already happened in the comic book industry, trying to, I'm not going to even say like wokeify, but trying to like super diversify all these characters unnecessarily. Like no one's calling for it. Yeah. Or no, there were people calling for it, but the people who were calling for it weren't the people who actually consume the media. So, people are saying, why aren't there enough, fat disabled people in superheroes? And so they're like, all right, we'll make Thor that.
Yeah.
And then the comic comes out and no one buys it, of course.
Well, and then you get to take that incel, because the first one will do well because the collectors and the speculators will buy that first issue to sell it or to hold on to it because it's some type of milestone. It's a fake milestone. It's not an actual accomplishment. It's kind of like in baseball right now, pardon the sports analogy, but in baseball there's this weird focus on like weird statistics that don't really matter. Mm-hmm. Like they talk about spin rate on the ball, and they talk about all these statistics that don't actually change your enjoyment of the game.
That's how all sports statistics sound to me.
But like in that industry, right? So they can do that to those characters, but they never do it to new characters. They never make new characters because those don't sell, because you have to use the same characters and just change them. Yeah. Which is funny too, because they made one character DC did 2 years ago called the Silencer that everybody actually really liked, and it was like it's a strong independent woman, and she's black, and I believe she's married. I think she's actually straight in it, and that shocked everyone at the time because they're like, "Holy crap!" But like that.
Why is that shocking?
Because
you have to
they
pick one.
Because they would have normally just made.
If they're white, they have to be gay.
And
if they're not white, then you don't have to make them gay.
But people actually liked that character, and then they just don't do anything with it because they don't have the years of name recognition built up with your 9 different versions of Batman that you have right now.
Right? Yeah, it's not.
Well, what about
huge
Snowflake
brand.
and Safe Space? Those are original intellectual property. What happened to those guys?
And then
that was insensitive to their gender identity.
Leave Snowflake. My favorite part of that was like they're like, he's a jock. I'm like, he's not. I don't know what school you went to where that guy's a jock, but that guy is not a jock in any school.
Was that DC or Marvel?
That was Marvel.
All right, so I think what they should do with those characters is wait 20 years and then have like a really gritty, well-written storyline where they bring back like all these lost characters, kind of like make it like The Boys or something, and it has all the trans and disabled and the characters that were quickly forgotten about or discontinued.
And there was the one that had like the power that he got through internet gas, which they never explained what the frick that actually is. Like he can control the internet or something like that. So
what was he called?
The New Warriors. That was the name of that comic series. Okay. That was based off that. Even that's like a rehash. So it says both workshops have been a popular and sought-after avenue for training emerging writers and directors. And then they do make reference to Regina King, who directed The Rings of Power. That's a weird flex because The Rings of Power is awful. But the rest of them seem fair enough. Like they mentioned Lovecraft Country, which I believe was one of those ones that got actually halfway decent ratings, but then got canceled anyway, probably because of production budget was too high to justify. And remember that was like, did you see that? It's based on like H.P. Lovecraft, but it's like, it's like an all black cast.
Oh, because they want to spite Lovecraft
because they don't like
because they
Lovecraft.
think he was racist.
Yeah, but they also mentioned Jonathan I. Kidd and Sonia Winton Odaminton, which is from Animal Kingdom, and then also House of the Dragon writer and co-executive producer Charmaine Degrade, which is like that's a fair enough. House of the Dragon's doing very, very well right now, so
Is
that
it-
could speak strongly to the talent that could be coming out of those diversity workshops, right? But for writers and directors. But apparently these are programs, all major studios that have collective bargaining agreements with the Directors Guild of America and the Writers Guild of America have to have some type of mentorship pipeline for those areas to put people forth in the industry.
And that's just to create positions so more people get paid. I don't.
A lot of the comments were saying that a lot of them, like they end up, they do a couple of seasons on some shows and then they kind of like, they don't really last. I don't know if that's because they're not talented enough or is it even possible that like a writer who had to make it on his own, say that writer that comes out of that program is really talented and that's fine, but like they're automatically kind of getting second guessed because they came out of a mentorship program that somebody else might feel like they didn't have access to. So there might be a little bit of like resentment there even.
Right.
But I think it's entirely fair to say that they had the upper hand.
Who?
And maybe like the people who were taken up into the mentorship program. I mean, that's a whole other conversation about, affirmative action or whatever. But like, that's not unfair to say, especially when the products that are coming out of it, Rings of Power especially, are not good.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit hung up on Rings of Power because I was just thinking about like how this is supposed to be a prequel series to the rest of it, and like if if all of these societies, all of these races are ethnically diverse
They just
in the
wiped
beginning,
out.
what happened?
Yeah.
In the in-between time,
Makes you wonder.
what happened to them?
Maybe they'll write it in. It'll like end with like a dwarf ethnic cleansing.
They're like putting this on Tolkien like he wrote some kind of mass genocide into.
What if they did that? What if that was like the end goal of this was just to really
To
discredit?
frame him.
Yeah, to really discredit Tolkien.
It's so weird.
This is one of the comments from the article. It says, let's be clear, this is complete and utter BS. We all know that when writers get hired through diversity programs, they get a position for a season and the studio picks up the cost, SW, staff writer position, and the studio picks up the cost. Then they get fired by the show so that the show doesn't have to promote them. Then the show hires a new free staff writer for the next season and so on and so forth. This is why we have so many women and people of color who never advance beyond low-level writing jobs. These companies need to step up. So what I wanted to point out was like, after they went back, now the people didn't know initially why they reinstated this program. I believe it is because of the collective bargaining agreements. These people might believe that it's because they spoke up about it. But even when they do what they want and they bring the program back, it's still never enough. Like they're still going, like remember, there's always more work to be done.
It's never enough because it's a problem in the first place that it would cross their mind to get rid of the program.
How dare you? How very dare you?
Even if they wanted to replace it with something that could be better.
Yeah.
We don't know.
They say that they could be wrong, but Donald Glover was an example of an entry-level writer recruited through one of these programs who ended up becoming a successful showrunner. But wasn't he, like, rapping well before?
He was independently popular on the internet for a Derek comedy.
Yeah.
So I mean, they were already
Yeah.
like a huge successful comedy troupe, and so I mean, I have no idea why he'd even have to go through that program.
Yeah, like he actually made his way on merit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then so they're merging a bunch of divisions. I imagine that this will end up being more of a problem for them than us. I don't think it's going to cut back on the content that we're seeing because most of that process is so streamlined that they're going to make those adjustments.
Some people think that when it comes to Cartoon Network intellectual property, they're going to get rid of new shows in favor of rebooting old ones for the nostalgia factor because they have crossed over Warner Brothers Animation Studio with Cartoon Network Studios.
Which, by the way, that scares me more than anything because if there's one thing Warner Brothers can do without screwing up most of the time, it's animation.
But Cartoon Network has already been on a downhill trajectory for a long time.
I'm speaking more of like their superhero adaptations for animation is really, really good. Like their track record is far better than their track record for live action movies. They hit like probably about 750 or 800 on their animated superhero stuff. Their box office for actual regular live action ones far, far, far lower and well below 500, I would say.
Yeah, it's weird that they keep rebooting these old shows. I'm so confused. It's like, are they just stuck in this weird loop, or do these reboots of another Scooby-Doo reboot, is that actually making more money than putting out a good show?
I know a Velma series is not. It's going to be canceled after 1, maybe 2 seasons.
Right.
And then
the second season is the one where she's gay. The first season is the one where she realizes that she's gay. And then they're going to cut it for tax purposes, like always, and then blame it on the incels for whom it was not made.
But it was actually made because they talked about them in the trailer. But it was made for them. Did you see that trailer where they trashed the fans the whole time?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but they keep doing this. I forget what the other show was, and it was already getting bad hype. And before the show even came out, they were like tweeting out, this show is not for the haters and for like all these people. It's like
She-Hulk, maybe.
I think it was She-Hulk.
She-Hulk, but not just that. Also Reva from
Reva and Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That might have been what it was. It was just weird. It's like, why are you picking a fight with potential viewers or potential fans?
It's called fan. It's actually got the name. Like, I think the Critical Drinker actually coined the term fan baiting. That's a viable marketing strategy now. And
they're reframing the debate, because in that teaser trailer for Velma, she's making fun of the haters who say that they want everything to be the same again, and if they bring back Velma, she better look exactly the same as she always has and act the same, and you can't change anything about her. But like, no one asked for Velma anything. Nope. That was the point. That's why you're getting backlash. No one wanted Velma to come back at all, in any iteration, looking any type of way, being sexually attracted to any type of person. No one asked for a Velma series.
Yeah, isn't she 14 anyways? I mean, or are they trying to write
They're
it?
They're adults now, I believe.
Okay.
I mean, they can change whatever they want, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. And why inject that in the first place?
Because they're just bitter. Like, I really do believe that a lot of them are just bitter.
I mean, Mindy Kaling, the woman voicing Velma this time around, I think she believes that it's more a show about her than about Velma.
That's
which
weird.
Is bizarre.
They're in a weird bubble where they have no grasp of how the audience is perceiving any of this.
Well, that gets worse and worse every year too. It's why it's really funny, because then like I think it's a ploy to make like even like the most B movie seem like okay. Like I went to Uncharted and I liked it just because it was so not offensive to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mark Wahlberg is so inoffensive and Tom Holland is so inoffensive. Is it like the video game? No, but you know what? They didn't call me a piece of crap for wanting it to not be crappy, and you know, sometimes that's the best you can hope for, is that they don't treat you like crap.
Well, Billy Eichner just found this out with Rose. I mean, interesting strategy. I mean, he is a comedian, but like it didn't work by saying this is not for straight people. For someone like me, I go, okay, I guess I just will not watch that movie. I don't really care.
Also, like rom-coms are already a subcategory that's limited, and not successful in the last 20 years.
It's a super niche.
If they are successful, it's among straight women.
Yes, and they were banking on
men, whether they're gay or straight.
They were banking on straight women. That
yassing at the movie.
and he, of course, his type of comedy is so annoying anyways. I can't stand his comedy or his on the street. Like, I hate his on the street stuff.
I don't mind it because it's always seen in small clips, but if that was a movie, I could not hear more than 3 sentences of him trying to string together, just screaming at me.
Yeah. So, what I would like to ask Warner Brothers, if we're going to talk back to like what they need to greenlight to make their $3 billion cut, if they're going to make all these cuts, what is something like, maybe they should be asking themselves this question. We're a little bit off topic, but what is something that they could bring back that could do with a modern reinterpretation? I imagine something like that exists. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Modern reinterpretation implies something negative already.
I know. I'm saying,
so you can't do it right.
I'm trying to think if there's like something that was like so hated that they could then repackage as something else.
But the things that were hated aren't remembered. Well, just like all of the series that they end early now.
Yeah, I mean they brought back Looney Tunes, and I didn't think it was bad, but
Yeah.
I'd still rather watch the originals.
Same with Muppets.
Yeah, so like a bad show from the past that was Warner Brothers that they.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember any.
Yeah.
I can't even think of any.
And there's just nowhere to go for these companies, which is like, but they've spent the last 20 to 50 years building IP like turning their companies into basically IP vaults, right? Where they own all of this stuff that was once successful, and that's where their money is bare. Like, why spend money making new stuff when you've spent all this money acquiring other things? That's
Once that goes to the public domain, it is over for them.
What happened with Winnie the Pooh? Have they actually
That is
done
in the public
anything?
domain.
That is the public
and
domain now.
They are going to make a comedy slasher film.
Yeah, I heard about that.
him.
So I could make a Winnie the Pooh comic book series or write them into anything, but still somehow
it can't be that
or Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, it can't be
Right.
that
Also on
exact
the table.
interpretation. There's whole channels dedicated to like open source and like public domain comics and stuff like that. Like the guy I mentioned earlier, Zach from Comics Matter, says he's got a whole plan for like a 5-year plan for like the stuff he's going to write when certain characters enter the public domain.
Yeah, because so you can't really base your character off of a previous storyline because that story is not in public domain. So I don't know where Batman is, if it's in public domain yet. But
No, not yet.
There's so much stuff that you just couldn't use. They say, sure, the image of him you can eventually use, but
Can't have a butler.
right.
Can't have like, you know what I mean? Like they're like all that. So it's like can't have a commissioner. Can't have any of the stuff that actually
Can't
makes
have
him.
Batmobile.
Can't have a Batmobile. So I would like to see them put more money. Like I feel like a broken record, but it's like, could you guys just make something new? But like I go over this question in my head all the time. Like, is it laziness or is it just they have a certain business model? Remember, Bob Iger spent 10 to 12 years buying stuff just so that they could own these properties. They're not going, and that's of course Disney. I know that that's not Warner Brothers, but that's what these companies' strategies are, right? Like buy it, own it, and then release it every few years before you lose the rights to certain characters. That's what happened when they release a Spider-Man every so many years, not necessarily because they need to release a new Spider-Man movie, but because they don't want Marvel to reacquire the rights.
Like the Hulk. I mean, the first Hulk movie, they only made it because they were right on the verge of losing the rights to the character, so they just came out with this Ang Lee crap, and then
I still would prefer
rebranding.
that to the. I hate the Mark Ruffalo.
I'm done with superhero movies. I can't watch them anymore.
Yeah, we're kind of like, it's one of those things we talk about it a lot, and I have interest in certain aspects of it. But like when we went and saw the Batman, I was just like,
I like the Batman,
and I should have liked it, but it was too long. Like, and we gave it a fairly good, I gave it a fairly good review, but I watched it again and I liked it less the second time around.
Okay.
And usually, if a movie even gets to a second viewing for me, I'm going to like it more the second time around.
Right.
And I didn't. Like,
yeah, maybe I just felt it the first time.
Yeah.
But really analyzing it, you go, oh, this is kind of weak or something. I know it was definitely a split audience where people either loved it or hated it.
Yep. All right, so we got some super chats there.
Yes. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, "Welcome to the show, Rusty. Happy Thursday, y'all."
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Johnny Derp said, "They Aunt Jemima'd Smokey the Bear. That is all."
When does Aunt Jemima go into the public domain? That's what I want to know.
What does that mean? What do they do to Smokey the Bear?
Did they change? They got rid of Smokey the Bear? Is he offensive somehow now?
I don't know.
They Aunt Jemima'd Smokey the Bear. Oh, yeah. All right. I don't really know. Can I open up a tab?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Aunt Jemima, actually, I had to look into this because I thought Aunt Jemima was based on an actual, I don't know, African American.
No, they hired women to play Aunt Jemima.
Yeah, but like the original one was an Italian lady who would just kind of put on blackface.
Oh man!
And so I was like, or was that Aunt Jemima or was that the other one?
I don't remember that part of it. Maybe the chat knows.
There was another one?
There's a lot of stuff got taken away in 2020. I think we still have Uncle Ben's Rice though.
I think that's on the way out too.
They might have taken that away. They took away Land O'Lakes.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've been collecting all these. Like I have a sealed Aunt Jemima.
Now it's the
butter.
Pearl Milling Company.
Right. Yeah, that's great.
Which is
very
the most
memorable.
generic name ever.
What?
The Pearl Milling Company.
That's crazy.
Yep. Does it say what they did to Smokey the Bear?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Smokey the Bear.
I'll move on.
All
Dizwiz said, "Why you keep changing DIE to DEI?"
It's a force of habit, right?
Diversity,
Like,
inclusion, equity.
Yeah.
Diversity, inclusion, equity. Die.
Die.
Nate Parrott said, "It's my birthday and I'm glad to spend it with the chat. The hosts are cool too."
See, where it's like their own country. They're annexed off.
Well, thanks
of
a
us.
lot.
And we're glad that we're kind of part of your birthday, but we were gonna sing the happy birthday song, but I think we'd get copyrighted.
Oh yeah,
Can't
forgot
do
about
that. Can't do that.
Let's go into TwitchCon, shall we?
Are we doing TwitchCon? I thought we were doing Kanye second.
We can do Kanye second if you want to.
TwitchCon it is.
Okay.
He said TwitchCon. I had the tabs in a different order today. All
Sure.
right. So it says convention center event worker bemoans TwitchCon, says they're moving out. Thank God. Do you want to tell everybody what was going on?
Yeah, can we play the video of this convention worker talking about the TwitchCon attendees and how socially inept they are?
I got to make sure that is it this one right here, security lady?
Yeah.
Let's see if the audio works here with our new setup.
It's TwitchCon and they're moving out, thank God.
Oh, thank God. What happened?
It was, these people that come to this thing were so verbally abused us.
Oh, what?
Oh yeah, they were terrible.
Really?
Because I just think they don't have any social skills. And
Oh.
so when you tell them, I'm sorry, you can't
Oh.
up the down escalator, they're like, well, why not? I'm like, because you're going to get killed.
What?
Cussed us out.
Really?
So I looked, and then I work at the ballpark too, and then we had a concert over there. Some people paid for it and some didn't, so it was embedded.
Right.
And they just,
Oh
my
my
staff,
God.
they just killed us practically.
Wow.
And it was,
That sucks.
It's like this entitled thing going on. You know?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I like how over the top and verbose the guy's like.
I know.
Really?
They went
he's
down the up escalator.
TwitchCon attendees are socially inept?
And entitled?
Really?
You are kidding me.
No way.
That has to be a huge pain in the ass, though, being security at an influencer convention.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, because everyone thinks that they're the special person who should get special access, early access.
Yeah, everyone's trying to do the big thing.
We were just talking about New York Comic Con and how there was a press,
Thank you.
like an entire press line held up from getting into the event because one person was mad and making a fuss that they didn't get early access as a journalist.
Oh my God.
And then there were other issues at New York Comic Con. 2 people died. The one person who died inside the venue, he was having a seizure and people were just taking pictures of him, not
Jesus.
helping him.
Have you noticed, that's,
paramedics took their sweet time getting to him?
Yeah, the paramedics took their time and didn't want to cause a fuss while somebody had seizures.
Yeah, we don't want panic.
Yes.
I guess their reasoning is they don't want people to just start charging the doors, but I don't think that would happen anyway.
They just announced someone's having a seizure. Move aside. Do not race towards the doors. This is not an emergency.
I can't think of many places in the world I would like to be less than at a TwitchCon or any type of influencer
what is
convention.
for you there?
Literally nothing.
That's the definition of it was not made for you.
Yeah, I was not made for me.
And then
at all.
Trainwrecks TV commented on this video saying the entire event is a circle jerk of insecure, corrupt losers trying to relive high school how they think it should have went. The good guys of Twitch are mostly selfish, greedy, behind closed doors, and it shows from their vocal minority part of their communities.
There's somebody was talking recently, said there's nobody meaner to you than a geek who got beat up in high school who gets any sense of power because they don't relent.
Is that TwitchCon attendees?
I don't know if that's TwitchCon attendees, but that's definitely true of people in the comic sphere who if they grew up a nerd. And just imagine though, you're part of this hobby that was basically looked down upon by jocks and the cool people in high school in the 70s and 80s, and now they have to watch as those same people who became finance bros and corporate executives are now making a ton of money off the stuff they made fun of you for when you were in high school.
Yeah, right.
Which leads them to be mean and angry and very, very. They will not let up, and it's what we talked about earlier. I was mentioning is have you ever noticed this weird fascination they have with physical violence? Where they're I would punch him in the face. They would never actually
That's
do
the
that.
feeling I get when I watch Stephen King adapted films, how the bullies are just psychotically murderous, insane,
Yeah.
and that is so not realistic at all.
Yeah, you can really see what happened to Stephen King.
Yeah, you can see into his mind more than anything.
And he's a weirdo anyway.
Anyways, there were other incidents in TwitchCon. One person he reported that he saw Hassan losing his temper at a fan for asking a question that he didn't like.
And that kind of goes with like the fact that when you communicate with people digitally, you're allowed to kind of curate your interactions with people,
Right.
and then you thrust them into the real world. And
yeah,
then they can't do
Hassan
Not
that.
is like,
everyone doesn't love me.
Hassan is the prime example of someone who talks big online but cannot back it up because he wouldn't fight Sam Hyde.
Yeah.
But that's another conversation for another day, I guess. And there was reports of overcrowding, people charging through, trampling disabled attendees.
Amaranth had a perceived stalker, which that language felt like a backhand to me. They're like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
she had a stalker and maybe she didn't.
There was a
perceived
streamer
stalker.
named XQC who reported being sexually assaulted during the event.
And all of this stuff, it's just like, this is what happens when the internet is let loose on actual society.
And there was drama leading up to TwitchCon for months as well, because the platform has been under fire for cutting pay for streamers. And then they booked Megan Thee Stallion as a performer there. And it's
Imagine
like,
her.
you're owned by Amazon. You obviously don't have budgeting issues. You just wanted to cut the pay of streamers, which, like, no problem here. I don't really like Twitch streamers. I'm not here to defend them, but
I would love to get like a mic'd up segment with Megan Thee Stallion at TwitchCon, having to like interact with like Twitch streamers. Like,
Oh my
she's
God.
just this.
it's such a weird pairing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
she's
why did
such
they
a
pick
normie.
her?
She's such like a mainstream normie, and she's just over here, just like, what the hell is going on?
Like,
here?
who are these people?
And I do want to talk about the part you were just mentioning, where they talk about the cold way in which Twitch streamers, Twitch is treating their creators. It says during his stream yesterday, the man known for his collaborative work with creators like Hassan and Austin Show, expressed frustration with the platform that he believes is starting to lose its identity. It says, quote, I can't come to Twitch's defense anymore, he said. Your whole identity is that you're a creator-first platform. You're not anymore. You're not. YouTube is killing you. Absolutely essing on you. I'm not going to say it for the... if there's any reason that we haven't left, it's that our audience is here. First of all, YouTube is not a creator-first platform anymore and has not been for a very long time.
I don't think it has been for like
No.
a decade,
The-
ever since AdSense came about.
And in general, like every time there's an apocalypse, every time, remember when in 2020 or 2019, when they pledged like $250 million to like mainstream press so that they could start pushing, create like, authoritative news sources and stuff like that. YouTube wants to be the mainstream media.
It's very irritating trying to find anything news related on you, because it is just NBC,
CNBC.
CBS. I'm like, I don't want to see two anchors talk about this and have this really watered down but the other thing is, like, with YouTube, you definitely know it's not creator first with taking away the dislike button.
Yep.
They just
Oh, yeah.
made up. They said there's a community of people that are being attacked by dislike mobs, and we hear you want to get rid of this, and everyone was like, nobody
No.
wants to. It
don't
makes no
want
Yeah,
sense
but
to.
aside from that, like, whether or not they're creator first, we know they're not. They are seeming to overtake Twitch in terms of like streaming.
Is that true? You
I think
that's
so.
true?
Yeah, I hear a lot of people moving over to YouTube from Twitch.
That's really interesting to me, because like when I think of like streaming, I still think of Twitch.
Well, because Twitch is like this insular
Yeah.
thing, and then the culture is continuing to change, and the problems that creators are bringing up are not being addressed, especially the issues of like child exploitation, and certain creators are held to a double standard. Like,
Right.
there are creators that seem to break their TOS all the time, especially involving like sexually graphic content.
All of those,
and they're left alone, but like others seem to be banned for no reason.
all of those extremely resourceful Twitch girls who always find a way to get around the TOS. So they was like, oh,
The
I can't.
determination of a crack addict getting his next fix.
I can use a hot tub. I can't use a hot tub. I can't use a bath. I can use a hot tub. I'll just do ASMR.
Oh, I love it, because it's like it's just making these insane new genres just by trying to avoid everything.
Creative
but-
destruction.
Yeah,
in
it's really
action,
like
yeah.
a psychological thing, like figuring out what do people find that's appealing about this, and by removing elements, it just shaves it away to like its core, whatever element.
I can respect like the literal hustle of them like thinking over like how can I get around the censors to exploit people with my physical appearance.
Somehow them sitting in a hot tub in a bikini is less offensive to me than them licking a prosthetic ear microphone. Sorry, like I'd rather they would be in a hot tub.
I've heard that ASMR is like that's actually like only a certain percentage of people are actually like predisposed to liking
There's
that.
some neurological function involved that I don't understand.
So they're cutting their audience down. They're like, of those people, of my audience of horny 14-year-old fans,
you gotta find your niche.
Which percentage of those would like to watch me lick a microphone?
And that'd be a very dedicated once they find it.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's, again, like shaving away, and then people, you know exactly what they want to hear.
Yep. And then they start talking about contracts and renegotiating contracts, and I just laugh at that because they're doing these he's like it took 90 days to get their contract renewed, and I'm imagining all of this happening through email, whereas if this happened in the real world, you'd go meet with them in person. But there's just I wonder if it's like they have less respect for these creators, so they won't even take meetings with them, and it kind of speaks to the impersonal nature of trying to get anything solved digitally when something goes wrong.
It's Amazon. It's the Borg.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like if you're a YouTube creator and you get a copyright claim or something like that, it's not like you can assuage your fear or anxiety by having a person you can call. You have to start an endless email chain and talking with a rep from the company and bigger,
if you have a rep,
if you're big enough and you have your own rep and stuff.
I don't have a rep. I have 1.6 million subs. I still can't.
No rep.
So you have to go through Twitter, and then you have to, at Team YouTube, and then hopefully get enough retweets and likes on it that they have to pay attention to it and say, all right, we'll look into this.
Only if it is a PR problem for them. Yeah. Otherwise, they won't pay attention to it.
Oh, yeah, they'll ignore it. And then half the time they say, well, we reviewed it and it makes no sense. And it's like, all right, well.
Maybe it makes no sense because you can't read.
Yeah, we reviewed it and we still strike the video or whatever the issue was.
So what were the other safety concerns there?
Well, we've also got the death trap foam pit, which we mentioned.
Where any and all adult film stars go to break their back.
Okay, not just adult film stars. There was two other streamers who were not porn stars also got injured in there. I think someone dislocated their knee. Jumping in there.
Those I'm just picturing like how is there not like a company this big? How is there not like
it
some
was
dude
Lenovo.
there measuring the depth of that pit?
Yeah,
it
no
was,
one figured it out.
Lenovo that put that
that's
foam
why.
pit there.
That's, like if you're making
It's so
Lenovo
random.
laptops, how why does Lenovo have a foam pit? We'll never know.
I don't understand.
Like I would love to be at that meeting where like they're like get the 20-somethings into this room and start figuring out this
fun stuff.
This live streaming convention this newfangled live streaming convention that the kids are having.
So my question is, how did this person even get to this platform in the center of the foam pit without realizing that it was very shallow?
That's a very good
You would think they would say this is about a foot deep, and I bet they did, and they still didn't realize that what they were doing is going to cause them to hit the ground.
This is very metaphorically rich, actually.
Yes.
She got that far in her career and didn't realize how shallow it was.
But the thing is,
until she risked her life.
The smart ones, the smart women in that industry are just going over to streaming. They're making more than enough money through that and through OnlyFans, where they don't have to actually interact with anyone. They have to use the industry, I'm guessing, as like a launching point to use those corporations as a way.
That's
to
what Mia
there.
Khalifa did, where she went from streaming to TikTok.
She's a hilarious
to
dumpster
OnlyFans
fire to watch talk. She's hilarious.
Oh yeah, I just recently saw a headline that was like, apparently my husband's uncomfortable with my past.
That's weird.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Here it is.
I just hate it. Gives me the heebie-jeebies just to think about it. And the fact that they grabbed her out of the foam pit and laid her down on the floor after that, you could literally kill somebody.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you could really feel that.
Yeah. Yep.
And she played it off, laughing at first.
She's like, I'm fine.
And probably was like, Jesus.
So bad.
Broke one of my vertebrae.
I've
in
actually
2 places.
I've had spinal issues through skating before, and it's not a pleasant.
Have you broken your spine?
No, but I've had
Okay.
disc problems from a fall to like that basically compressed it, and it's not a pleasant experience.
It's not fun.
Yeah, what actually ended up happening to her? Like, what were the?
She got a rod placed in her back to.
Sorry.
For those listening on Spotify, Brett is
I'm
looking like a
14.
14-year-old boy right
I'm
now.
14, I
She got
can't
a rod
help it.
placed to her spine. So
I mean,
she
you
could
can't
feel.
say that without knowing that at least somebody's gonna laugh.
Ah.
This is still a free country. This is still we're still a country. So
I won't censor you.
Exactly.
It's okay.
So, like, is there anything that you would like to do less than go to a TwitchCon? Like, if now,
I don't know. I feel like I would go to an anime convention just to laugh at people. So why not TwitchCon?
like Antifa rally before TwitchCon, maybe.
That's a day's schedule.
Anime conventions can be very, very irritating.
Really?
I mean, as a vendor, I've been there, and then in front of
Oh.
you are like people enacting the voices from some anime. It's just super high pitchy, and they're just screaming at each other and yanning and.
Mary's getting secondhand annoyed already.
I'm already like clenching my fists.
It really, like, I remember, you want to be happy for them. They're all dressed up in character. They're the people who buy the merch, but then you have to say, can y'all just like move away, out of the way of the booth?
Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
Yep. It's Mary. Next year, that's what we're gonna do for the show. We're gonna send you to TwitchCon and to
Just reporting live from Trying Not to Hurt These People. It's Mary from Pop Culture Crisis.
It's like Mary has the slapping game where she slaps first and then quits every time she forfeits.
And then I heard some of the biggest headliners from this TwitchCon were VTubers. Same thing for Comic-Con.
Yeah.
What is a VTuber?
It is a virtual avatar with a person behind it, Wizard of Oz style.
So
That voices it.
If they're already there acting and they're already filming themselves and it's using like face mask, why don't they just use
I
their
think
face?
they're doing it remotely though.
Oh. Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, because if they were there, like I would be too tempted to just like pull back the curtain and be like, "Ha!"
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that I'm not keeping up with the times on is VTubing. It seems so strange to me.
like
Maybe you could try it.
I didn't feel old until I heard the term VTuber. It's like, nope, I draw the line here. I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, I refuse to know.
Yep. And I do want to at least mention Keffels and
Yeah, Keffels is a transgender Twitch streamer who recently made her first public appearance at TwitchCon for a while after running off to Northern Ireland,
wish I could just run off. to
fleeing
Northern
supposedly for her life from people trying to harass her.
Ireland, because of her takedown of Kiwi Farms.
Yes. So this is the person this was the architect behind Kiwi Farms getting taken down. It's now back up again.
I
but
watched.
Cloudflare took it down. They found some other way to get back up, and there was
watched
also
about-
an alternative one throughout.
Okay.
I watched about an hour total of the video.
The Destiny
video.
Keffel's Manifesto is what he called it, I believe.
It just ends up being just one of the most like he's telling all these stories about the different people involved, and all I feel is like a profound sense of sadness for how like hard the lives were of some of the people involved in these stories. That were basically there was 3 different people who committed they ended their own lives that were attributed to being because of Kiwi Farms. And all I could think of while I was reading these stories was just how it was Chloe Segal, Terry Berry, and I forget the third name. I had it, but it was just all that their lives were just so difficult and very, very very traumatic.
Very lost people who got even more lost with the internet influencing their lives.
Yeah, you have to be super involved in the internet. I mean, I have no problem with Kiwi Farms. I think that there should be a place where people can just do exactly what they're doing there, but you can just ignore it. You don't have to go there and read threads about what people think about you.
That's one of the funniest things when I was reading it is like the amount of like there was actually what was it Terry Berry, one of them was like very open with them and diplomatic and said like I read what you wrote about me, and although I don't agree with all of it, like I'll take it as a moment to like learn something about themselves through what they said about him, and they actually had a fairly decent exchange. But the idea that if you're going to go someplace and seek out all this information that you know is going to be basically like a really big rebuke of your character, you're hurting yourself.
Right. If you can't take it.
If you can't take it. Like, and that's very, very difficult for some people. Like, I'm not a huge fan of like I don't read the comments on the stuff that's said about us, because it's just like, it's not going to change how I do my job. I'm going to do my job the same way anyways. And the people that have strong opinions on it one way or the other, some people reach out to me and will have critiques of stuff that I have to say, but that's not like saying anything about me as a person. They just disagree with my opinion. That's fine.
Right.
But it's people that have these like sweeping generalizations of who you are based on one thing that they heard you say in one live stream or one video. You shouldn't take it seriously, but the human brain isn't that rational all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you do always focus on the criticism one way or the other, but it's just like, okay, evaluate it. Is this real? Am I actually guilty of these? Is this something that I agree is incorrect behavior? And then change it if you actually think so. But if you just want to be validated by every single person, then get off the internet.
The goal, I think, like for me, it's to don't read the negative stuff, but don't read the positive stuff either. Like just do your job the best way you know how, and don't focus on the good or the bad, because it's not like the affirmation isn't something you need either. You don't need people to tell you you're doing a good job for like outside of the people that you're working with. I don't need that validation from people.
Yeah, you'll start molding your craft based around what you think is going to appeal to the audience that is already commenting. And the only time people really comment on something is, I mean, not really, it's never the people who fully enjoy it. They just want to be heard. So it's usually people who are opinionated in the first place.
Yeah.
Or they're giving support, but...
Oh, it's always interesting. Sometimes then you'll hear somebody like that says something really negative about you, and then you respond politely and like, "Oh, crazy! I just wanted to be heard."
Yeah, that happens on Twitter all the time.
Yeah.
They'll just the most vile thing, and then you go, "Hey, what's all this coming from?" Like, "Oh my God, you actually respond. I love your stuff." Like,
and then what are you expected to say that?
Only in the internet age is that a thing. That there's no human analog to that in the real world, is there? Like, is there a real world version of that? Like,
when people talk about you behind your back and they don't expect you to mention it to them.
Like going
That's
to
the analog.
To a baseball game and like you suck, number 9, and number 9's like, hey man, chill out.
I love you.
I love you, man. Right. Like if that happens, I've never seen it.
Maybe hecklers in a comedy.
Oh,
because that happens sometimes where people just want to be heard, but maybe not the exact same way.
But yeah, like it's kind of like they're there, like,
right?
Especially if it's like if you're the headliner and you're getting heckled, meaning that they came there likely to see you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a little bit different. Or sometimes the heckler is like the uptight girlfriend or boyfriend of whoever drugged them to that show. Drug, is that the right way to? Would you say dragged?
Dragged.
Not drugged. That would be bad.
Yeah. Drugged them to the show. Disavow.
Well, the paradox with all of this is the people like Keffels or the other individuals involved, they're the most negatively affected by reading what people have to say about them, but the most addicted to that feed.
I don't envy that, like that spiral.
I can't tell if this is a grift or not, or if, like, is it intentional that she kind of came out of nowhere and is constantly openly making herself a victim, getting her name trending, knowing that this is growing her brand. Was she big a few months ago? I'd never even heard of her.
Her rise was in 2020.
Okay.
But also she was active in Canadian politics before that in their Communist Party.
I see.
Lost two different elections and then left politics. It's a strange lore there.
Yeah, that was the interesting. Like she went from politics to Twitch streaming, and like it started with games, but then it became about politics.
That's someone who likes the attention.
Yeah,
and it's easy to get attention if you're constantly being attacked. So like bad attention or good attention, because she gets a lot of support from the people who side with her, and then that's where the money comes in. Then she can make a GoFundMe because I'm being attacked by internet trolls, and do what Anita Sarkeesian did, and
raise some exorbitant amount of money actually recently, like in the hundreds of thousands.
For what?
Like I don't know, fleeing the country.
Okay. I have to flee the country for one day.
Give me $300,000
$1,000.
or like whatever amount it was.
Because,
it was
like,
insane.
Trolls are attacking me.
And that's what it felt like for those three individuals that they talk about in the Destiny, that he talks about in the Destiny video, that it felt like that they were part of a community that was like, they're all addicted to the drama. Like they're all talking about all these interactions between all these people. And I don't have the patience for that in the real world. I don't. Like
Because you don't have village gossip anymore. So you have to do that.
So it's sad to see. And then for this, it's like she didn't get none of the articles that I saw pushed back on why. Now, do you want to explain to people why exactly she was on Kiwi Farms?
I don't want to get into all of the details because I'm not even the most well versed
about
stuff.
it.
But like stuff involving minors.
Yes,
Okay.
and hormones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she's on there, and none of the articles mentioned it. Funnily enough. It's anybody watching this show likely knows that the media runs cover, so nobody holds anyone to account.
NBC News
Yeah.
covered this situation, and the way they framed it was like, this streamer is just inexplicably getting thousands of people hating on them
For no
being
reason.
trans.
Right.
It's like
when that like just doesn't happen.
It's like when Bill Burr talked about the Rihanna and Chris Brown situation. He's like, do you think that he just decided to just hit her out of nowhere? Do you think maybe they were in the middle of some epic end of the relationship fight and she was saying some crazy shit and he finally like, was like,
Not that excuses it.
No, it doesn't. But it's saying that there is precipitating event. Like, there are events that lead up to these things that they're just like, and then out of nowhere, a bunch of people just decided they didn't like her and then started to send her evil messages and dox her
Because they're evil.
Because they're evil
And they're bots and they're trolls.
I see her on Twitter all the time praising people getting deplatformed and their accounts getting suspended. I think Destiny got suspended off Twitter. I'm not really sure.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that was something she did, but she definitely has her own troll army to go and attack these people. I don't really have much opinion one way or the other about troll armies, but for someone who really praises people getting their accounts taken down, you just make yourself such an unlikable person that's where that hatred comes from. Is you're putting it out there first, and of course you're going to get attacked.
And then it's cry bullying. They cry out in pain as they hit you.
Exactly.
They're like, oh, what do you mean? Why? How dare you come after me? It's like, well, because you're championing that motion going the other way.
Yeah, and they're framing these changes as victories, that Kiwi Farms was blocked by Cloudflare, that Wayback Machine deleted all of its archives of anything that was ever on Kiwi Farms.
That's insane.
That is like worse than social media censorship.
Isn't there some connection between Keefles and the Wayback Machine?
Could be.
Well,
Like it's like somebody in her family started it, or is that
No
someone
way.
else? I'm trying to remember what the connection was.
Wow.
I could be thinking Wayback Machine, and I think I'm confusing these stories.
That would be crazy if true. I don't know. But like just the fact that all of these threads that keep tabs on like not just innocent people, but also people who are doing really nefarious things through the internet are on Kiwi Farms, and that's why they wanted to take it down.
Yep.
But yeah, just thought I would cover that this person showed their face at TwitchCon unopposed with security detail from TwitchCon.
With security.
Not private hired. From TwitchCon.
Oh, I was gonna say
Wow.
and private security paid for by the people that she got from her GoFundMe or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$300,000
from TwitchCon.
Yep.
So
they're openly endorsing this person. Caper2X said, our own Lydia was at Michael Malice Live last night and did great. Looking forward to her vlog. Make Mine Marvel PCC peeps. No nation.
See, nation. Nobody wants
No.
PCC.
We
nation.
want Crisis Nation.
No, we don't. We don't.
Arise.
No, there is no Crisis Nation.
I didn't know she was on Michael Malice. That's
Yep.
cool.
They were talking about it last night.
Did you watch it?
I haven't watched it yet, but they did the interview a couple days ago.
Oh, cool. Nathan Koss said, I saw a commercial for the Pearl Milling Company, and they had to put "We Are Aunt Jemima" in the corner of the ad.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing. And it's just so like
Jeez.
all for Backlash that would have died down a month later.
Who complained of? I mean, there had to be other reasons. Like, here's what normally happens with these brands. Not to cut in between all these,
No,
it's
these
okay.
chats, is they, for one reason or another, they want to rebrand. And the best way to do it is to say there's a controversy and we're growing as a company.
Yeah.
They probably put the news out there that they're like doing a good thing by retiring this character. But that character could have been the likeness of someone who they're still paying out to the estate of by using the image.
Well,
they're
I
planning
think
it ahead.
Right.
Every so often they change, like, so that was like a mantle, kind of like a different woman would play that, would represent that character for like a certain amount of years, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Nope,
Interesting.
they don't want to pay it out anymore, so they're like, we don't have to pay anyone if we're the Pearl Milling Company.
Bobcat said Hassan can run, but he cannot Sam hide.
Not.
Tacti Platty said no ASMR channel for Mary. Hashtag unsubscribing.
There will be no ASMR channels affiliated
Never.
with this company.
Never.
Not on my
Not
watch.
this company, not me,
Not
not
anybody
Brett.
here.
No one. Bobcat said some judging is needed in culture. For example, people who don't return shopping carts should be shunned. Winky face.
What do you think about that, Mary?
I received a principled objection in my Instagram.
You want to
DMs
read it?
That I
You should read it.
think I should read, just because it comes from someone with this perspective of having actually corralled carts.
So Rusty, she's not a fan of returning shopping carts when she's at the store.
I'll admit it.
She's a shopping cart anarchist.
I'm 100% on board with that.
See?
All right. If I've talked to people I've never worked at a like pub or whatever they have here. Any grocery store.
My first job was as a cart pusher, so I'm just saying I have my own bias.
So
here.
did you not enjoy that time away from customers, away from? That seems like that's the coolest duty. You just go out and collect carts.
Yes, but
But he was in Minnesota in the winter.
where it's like freezing cold. But you're still
fair enough, yeah.
You're still doing it. You're just going out to the corral, not going out to the back of the parking lot where it's flopped over in the grass. And then you have to pick it up and then carry it all the way back. Come to think of it, I probably didn't hate that part as much because it was good exercise.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're doing it for hours a day and you're constantly pushing heavy things around, we didn't have like the thing that did it remotely, right? We didn't have like the mechanical thing.
They all
we had
have
to do
that
it by
now.
we had to do it by hand.
Well, what there should be is a wide scale poll of people who have definitely worked that position, and they vote. Did they enjoy it? Did they not enjoy it? Obviously, in Minnesota with the cold, that'd be miserable.
And Mary made a good point. She said people pick and choose what they get offended about in these types of things. She said, do you return say you're at the grocery store, do you return everything if you choose not to buy it? Do you walk it all the way back to whatever aisle it's from? And I admitted, no, I don't always do that. So I at least understand her principled take on it.
So you choose what you are a careless person about.
Yes. Though there should be some point in saying that maybe I do feel bad about it when I don't put it back.
I like to get like raw chicken and then take out a bunch of cans and just hide it back there, so they don't find it until months later.
That's sick, dude.
It's just like take that.
Just to kind of get back at them.
It's just
back at the system.
Just has like a note on it that says I am chaos.
So here's the DM I got. I worked for 3 years in high school as a grocery bagger who also had regular cart duty. We literally are paid to get the carts, leave them wherever. It really doesn't matter unless it's windy and they blow into cars. We all love to see that anyway, and we'd cheer the ones that blew away as we watched out the store window to see what they would hit. This is the garbage progressive logic that resulted in people scanning and bagging their own groceries for free because they thought it was bigoted to expect paid employees to work.
I don't know. I got nothing to about thoughts on that last part there. I think that's a big reach there. But I do agree, or I do believe that he's wrong saying that he shouldn't be championing seeing cars get hit. You don't know whose car that is getting hit. That might be that person's pride and joy that they saved their whole life up to buy that car.
Well, I'm sure his mother told him that when he was in high school and working at the grocery store.
So then maybe my argument is that when I don't put like a loaf of bread back in the right aisle, there's no risk that loaf of bread is going to leave a dent in somebody's car.
Fair enough. Have you seen Cart Narcs?
Yes.
I just because I love that so much, I'm on team put the carts back, but really I want them to leave them out so that they
have people to get. See,
yeah.
I think that's the update to my argument is that I'm not going to damage somebody's very expensive car if I leave my bread in the wrong aisle.
I'm pro chaos, all context. No context.
Mary, and I will give Mary all the credit in the world that she stands strong in her beliefs, even as everyone tells her that she's evil. And
We
wrong.
need a lower trust society.
Here's what happens is if everyone's taking the responsibility on themselves, then yeah, they do eliminate the position. So they'll eventually start eliminating the position of people who collect the carts and eliminating the cashiers. And then everyone's just on this working system. All it takes is one person saying, wait a minute, there's no one stopping me from doing anything.
Yeah.
And there's no checks and bounds. Like as long as no one steals from the store, then there's no need to have security.
Yeah.
But then if they get rid of security, then you can just walk in there, cut in lines, take whatever you want, and realize there's no infrastructure to stop me from this.
I posted a clip on Instagram last night. I reposted a clip of this guy. He goes, you know what else isn't stealing? Putting another bike lock on somebody else's bike.
That's rough.
That's just
he's like,
chaos.
do you understand the power you wield with a bike lock? I can't even believe those things are legal. You could just be walking by a Dunkin' Donuts and say, you're closed.
Yeah, right.
That's funny.
That feels more along the lines of that's the type of chaos Mary wants. She just wants you to take random bike locks and put them on people's bikes so they just have to pay somebody to cut it off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you put that on a bank or something, then the bank would just be closed until they got the right tools.
Hurt the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
Just in the small ways that you wouldn't notice.
Ian would support that. Yeah.
Ian is going to start putting bike locks
on banks.
on banks.
That's something I would pay to see. That's the bonus content I'm here for.
Matt said, so a site canceled for anti-trans hate speech doxed MTG because anti-trans hate speech? So weird how that works.
So
I guess Kiwi Farms doxed MTG.
Why?
Some people on Kiwi Farms don't like her.
That's interesting.
Some of them are just for the chaos,
For
like
the
we were
chaos.
just talking about. But yeah, there are all types on there. Joseph said carts roll and hit cars. The F, Mary. How hard is it? I'm not saying it's hard. I just don't want to do it.
That's I think you're in the wrong on this one for other people's cars. I do.
All right, what about this? What if you just leave it and you put the two front wheels up on the grass or whatever, so it's not going to roll away.
But someone has to get it.
See, but even
Right.
that's maybe less annoying than because it's just the other thing is thank you. When it goes when they're all in the thing, you get to pull them all out at once. It just makes the cart pusher's job less stressful to have to be able to pull them all out at once.
It sounds like a stressful job.
To keep them in a line rather than have to move them.
Does
and then
it
go get
sound
them.
like I'm trying to make the cart pusher's job less stressful?
No, it does not.
I'm trying to
No, it
make
does
it
not,
more
Mary.
stressful.
That's of course it is.
Tacti Platy said, I return items at the store all the way back.
I have good
Good for you.
I have the utmost respect for you for doing that because even me, who worked at a grocery store, sometimes I'm just like, I'm in a hurry.
I feel really bad when I do it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, legitimately, I'm like, God, it's so lazy of me because I knew I wanted this, and I will walk it back.
But
If
I
they're
don't do
closing
it.
soon, you don't have a choice.
Oh,
But
right,
I
yeah.
don't do it with frozen things. I return the frozen things, at least to
Oh.
a freezer.
Sure.
Maybe not to the right freezer, but to a freezer.
Matt said, it's mostly that the loose carts block parking spots. I double park, so that's... I'm not really concerned with that.
You really are chaos.
You're just a monster.
personified.
Yeah.
You really are.
Terrible person.
Yep, that's me. Caper2X said, but Comrade Mary, you drive a mini car, so your chosen projectile is less likely to hit it. Welcome to the madness, Rusty.
This is the madness
I
of
don't
the
drive
show.
a mini car, though.
You want to drive a mini car.
I do want to.
Yes.
I think it's more my vibe.
Yeah. If I was to picture you in a car.
My Napoleon complex vibe is actually being in an SUV, but
Yeah.
Nathan Koss said, cut in line, don't return carts, close banks, stay toxic kings.
Stay toxic, King. So that's my favorite Instagram channels is all the guys who do the stay toxic videos where it's like he's like, call your ex-girlfriend at 3 a.m. and say, whoops, wrong number, and then just hang up and say
End the diversity, equity, inclusion program.
Stay toxic.
Toxic kings. Johnny Derp said, put canned shaving cream in the freezer. They'll return it if they find it. When it thaws, it releases its contents and makes a huge mess. That is all.
That is that
He
is-
has the secrets.
guys-
Thank you.
Mary's like, I like this idea.
Yes.
I like this idea.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, now that we're firmly in the in the conversation of chaos, we are going to talk about Kanye West, who has just been removed from his banking institution over anti-Semitic tweets, or at least we can assume that it's due to anti-Semitic tweets because it was after those tweets about DEFCON 3.
It was DEFCON 3.
DEFCON 3.
Should I reread the tweets he made in
for it.
case
Yeah.
people are missing the context?
Let's go.
I don't have the screenshots in front of me, but he basically said, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on all Jewish people.
That's a very
And-
Kanye West thing to say,
After that tweet, he said, who you think created cancel culture?
which I don't know what that means, but
It's suggesting that Jewish people created cancel culture.
well, I get what it means, but it doesn't feel like as like where does that come from? Like I'm gonna become source bro on that one and be like source.
I mean, Kanye is not in the business of like reporting the facts.
I like the idea of him
Or-
like linking something with a hyperlink and
I think that's why he maybe likes Candace Owens, is she has like more of that clarity and
Yeah.
like cares about the truth and like the specifics, like the numbers.
well, yeah, like she bolsters his words by like with the information needed behind it.
And TMZ also reported that supposed insiders in Kanye's life are worried that Candace Owens is influencing him.
That's, which what they're saying is like, but we want to be the ones influencing
Right.
him, not her. We
Yeah.
don't like her.
We want him to belong to us.
He
He
has
be our
lot-
puppet.
He has lots of social capital that we can use.
And
How
another
dare you.
article from Page 6 I saw recently said that insiders similarly say he's going through one of the worst or the worst mental break he's ever had in his life. We don't know if that's true because we obviously like we're not friends with him. We don't know what he's normally like in his personal life, but they're saying that, and I don't know what to make of it because these insiders aren't close enough to him to actually be
Yeah.
talking to him in private about it.
Also, before we go on, I want to call for an end to any and all of this. I'm wearing my dad's oversized suit trend that they have on here. It's a problem. It's absolutely.
You're telling Kanye how
Yes,
to
I
fashion
am.
right now?
I'm telling anyone who wears the oversized suit that looks like he's like literally playing dress up in his dad's closet to just say no. Say no. That's all.
I'll say it does look pretty bad.
It
but
looks ridiculous.
Don't tell Kanye how to fashion.
Who's the guy to his left in this? The
is
guy
that-
is that her husband in
Um,
that picture?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
His name's George Farmer. He's the CEO of Parler.
He looks like George Eads from CSI. He does.
This is such a weird group of people.
It really is.
Why was Ray J at the premiere of
What?
Candace Owens' documentary?
Like,
I have
like,
to know.
I would like to see a comic book version of this group right here done into
They're a
like,
ragtag team of vigilante heroes.
Like, what are they doing?
It's sort of like that awkward picture of Kanye and Lorde,
Yeah.
where they're both like, they look like emo teenagers. It's sort of like that.
So they were at a film premiere last night for Candace Owens' new movie, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, or is it Ever Told or Ever Sold? I think it's both. Which is Ever Sold. Yeah, it's a documentary on BLM and her pointing out a lot of the problems along the finances of that organization.
Oh, that's definitely not her husband, though.
Okay, it's not.
Just fact checking.
But I'm just saying he looks like George Eads from
That's funny,
from
though.
CSI. It says we're told that those close to Kanye, many have distanced themselves after his recent attacks. Believe he's in a bad headspace mentally, and anyone working. Thank you.
Thank
Crisis
you.
Party.
All right.
Yes.
Time to party.
Thank you. They're basically saying that they're trying to persuade him to get help. But I like the idea that, yes, he does have a very over-the-top way of delivering any and all information. But they really do believe that anything that isn't what they believe is something in need of help.
I mean, yeah, like he is making, kind of crazy statements, but I don't know. I personally, it does seem like he kind of is creatively insane at times.
But I think that like he's one of those last true actual artists in an industry that really works to clamp down on any sense of individuality and talent.
Yeah.
That he just happened to rise up at a time before they gained enough traction within the industry and enough financial capital and creative capital that he's allowed to be that in an industry that very much works to stamp that out very quickly, because you have to be a representative of the label and produce stuff that falls in line with their values, which oddly enough in the rap industry are not actually good values most of the time, which is funny because like I was talking to someone recently, and this is a little bit of an aside, but I was talking about how I grew up in the Midwest in the 90s, which means that I listened to nothing but gangster rap.
Okay.
As you want to. I grew up on Bone Thugs and Harmony and Tupac and Biggie and Twista and all of these artists that were rapping about things that I didn't really comprehend in the same way that somebody who lived in an environment where those were actual issues that they dealt with. And it kind of occurred to me that if I was to grow up in an area with absent of like, I had a structured household, I was in sports, I went to school, and you saw it as entertainment, but the people who saw that as their life, as a reflection of their life, you can see how that would work against them in a way that reinforces things that aren't going to help them.
Yeah, that's such a debate that I kind of have a lot with myself. I remember Cameron, the conversation he had with Bill O'Reilly, where he's like, do you think these are all good things? And yeah, NWA said the same thing. Like, we're rapping about what we're seeing, but also people emulate what they hear. And if you're kind of making it sound like we are these things and this is kind of cool, then people are going to associate those traits as something to emulate.
But it's just because they just happen to be the charismatic cream of the crop that rised up of that movement.
Right.
So people inherently are attracted to the charismatic nature of these artists who are rapping about things that aren't necessarily good, but are being done. But it's being done so in a way that is charismatic and does kind of lend people to want to listen to it and emulate what they're hearing.
Yeah, I kind of get really worried about the RICO laws, how they're using those against rappers who are. That really destroys artistic freedom if, you say something in a song and then they say, well, that could be indicative of an actual committed crime.
New York and California have both introduced legislation to curb that, to prevent that from happening, obviously.
Yeah,
because,
we've talked about that.
Yeah, we've
here.
talked about that on here.
Cool.
And that is a huge step on freedom. Like, I know because they use that in Atlanta for the RICO charges that have been brought against, like, Gunna and Young Thug from YSL.
Yeah, if they don't actually have any legitimate crimes backing up.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do find like, oh, they actually are committing some sort of crime. But just as a songwriter myself, sometimes you want to write a terrible story or a villainous character. And then if you write it from first person perspective, it's not like I'm not admitting to, killing somebody.
They have to do their own version of the Twitch streamers and find a way around it by making it about not first person and adjust it. So maybe if those laws don't get put into effect, they will just force them to become better artists down the line.
I think social media is a creative outlet for Kanye, and that's not being taken into account. And that makes it especially egregious that he's being censored on there the most.
Yeah.
And that's led to his company getting debanked.
Yeah. We use that word.
And that's an explicit admission that you don't want this person to make a living if they have certain beliefs, which we don't even know if he sincerely holds.
And we know we've seen this happen before with like Gavin McInnes got his banking closed, right? After, what was it that happened? Do you remember that?
I mean,
yeah,
he
and
had
PayPal.
He had
know
PayPal.
specifics.
No, and it was a bank. I think it was like Wells Fargo or
it's
an
scary.
actual bank just closed on him because they're like.
And Lauren Witzke is a political candidate too, who got her banking taken away from her in Florida.
That should be considered maybe the most terrifying of all.
I think it is. It's digitalizing all money, all currency being digitalized and owned by someone, and there's no way of actually owning that wealth yourself and having control on it. Because, then you really do have to play ball if you want to be able to live, to buy food, to buy a certain amount, to spend a certain amount of money. They can control that. They can control your entire lifestyle if they want.
financially beat you into ideological subversion.
But
Yeah,
if
social
it's
credit
a mega
scores.
corporation getting beaten down by another, like if it's a bank debanking a mega corporation which may be engaging in illegal practices, I believe they have the right to revoke banking from them.
I also love the idea that
Like
the
they
banks-
recently, I think Visa, MasterCard stopped working with MindGeek, which is the parent company of Pornhub, because they've had a
Yeah.
lot of litigation aimed at them about keeping
Trafficking
videos of trafficked people or minors on their website.
I also love the idea that these, like, the banks, which are just the biggest criminals out of all of them.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Like, I'm getting morality lectures from the people that had to get bailed out because they literally lost everyone's money in 2008.
Yeah.
Like, are you
Yeah, and
kidding
even
me?
though there was no official reason given for JP Morgan revoking banking from Kanye's brand, you can guess exactly why this was.
Yeah.
He
Yep.
crossed a line.
Yep, and they don't like it.
Ideologically, he crossed
Yeah,
a
it's
line.
an ideological line, not a legal line.
Yeah.
And I don't know what this means for his bank closing.
Basically, they said that he has to remove his assets to move his assets
He
to
has
a
a
new
month
bank
to
to
do
move his
that.
assets, and if they don't, they'll send him checks for his remaining capital. So he's gonna get these. I hope they send him like oversized checks,
Yeah.
like one of those ones you win at like a competition.
Yeah.
Like they send him like a really big one that says Yeezy, and it's like $600 million. Like that would be fantastic. But it really is scary when you think about if for no other reason that like lesser people, like people with less success, are going to now have to double think twice about what they say. And even if it's so much as just making you think about it, like, well, if I say this, what if my banking institution gets me makes me close my account? That's going to get people to at least think about censoring themselves.
Yeah. Just for instance, to make it a personal story, I got invited to join a apparel company, CrowdMade, and they do like print on demand shirts. And then I guess the CEO went to my YouTube channel and didn't like some of the videos, didn't exactly specify which. And so as I was planning this launch, I was working with their team in their graphic design department. The CEO didn't like it, so he just cancels the launch. So it's like, then it makes me think twice. I'm like, oh, what shirts can I put on other companies? Are they just going to all delete me if they don't like the message of the shirt itself, even if it doesn't break any terms of service? And so it's that type of mentality where you're self-censoring, but with PayPal, like if I say something on this website, because that's another thing, like websites who are taking out of platform events and then using that, saying it breaks their terms of service.
Kickstarter was doing that for years. Like they had their comic book czar who would they would basically decide who got to run Kickstarter campaigns on their platform, and they would use off company or off platform. It wouldn't have anything to do with the actual comic being launched. It would be like, we don't like your political views, we don't like this, we don't like that about you.
Right.
But it makes me wonder, for something like this for you, you have to now, anytime a company approaches you, or you get approached by a company, or you approach a company about something, and we want to do this project with you, you have to be like, yeah, but have you really looked at my stuff? You need to double check everything that I do, so that I know that we're not going to get a month into this work together only to find out that you didn't do your due diligence and
then know the nuance of what I was talking about. Because I told the line with a lot of imagery where I try to make something that's visibly potentially right there on the line and or crossing it, but I make sure that it doesn't.
Yeah.
So if someone just looking at something just instantly puts an idea in their head of no way I'm going to work with this person. I got to think about that with every company, every brand. Perhaps if they go through my catalog and they just see one thumbnail they don't like, then that's that.
And this stuff has kind of always happened, right? It used to be the moralist Christian right that would be the ones that would try to, back in the day, obviously not in the last 10 to 20 years, that would be more inclined to want to get people to stop doing things with people because they had imagery, or they want to cancel J.K. Rowling because she they think that Harry Potter influences Satanism and things like that.
Where
Which it
was the
does.
real push to censor J.K. Rowling's books
No,
to get them out of print? Where was the push to get Marilyn Manson's music
banned?
Well,
it wasn't.
Was that a
necessarily-
thing?
It wasn't banned. It was that they had parental advisory labels added to it and restricted sales to people under a certain age.
Okay, but I don't think that's censorship.
And I don't know. Like I said, I was young at that time, so I can't. I just know that was a thing.
Like that's a whole different beast
Yeah.
than like mega corporations, banks, and big tech
Yeah.
all joining up against one individual person.
The better example in the past would have been like TV shows getting censored based on Christian values and stuff, but that's not the same thing as your banking institution telling you that you have to be poor and out of pocket now because you're saying something we don't agree with.
And Adidas is technically like in the public eye on the same page with JP Morgan Chase in reviewing their relationship with Kanye because of his comments.
That's PR for them. It doesn't necessarily mean that they don't agree with it, which they probably don't agree with his statements, but they don't want to deal with the backlash. They think of how much money are we losing by dropping him as a client or as a dropping him as a client versus how much money will we lose with the short-term protest of our products, which is probably going to be minor and everyone's going to forget about whether or not Adidas still works with Kanye in a month from now, but they're still going to lose a ton of money.
I used to take a certain amount of comfort in knowing that when it came down to it, these companies, all they care about is the financial aspect of it. That sounds ghoulish, but there's something to me very comforting about knowing that at the end of the day, you can always count on human greed.
But then what they publicly announce is he didn't align with our values. That's what.
Oh, I love that.
That's
I love
always the
generic,
PR response. And
they got that from their CEO update file that says like
Right.
that goes up there right along there with synergy. Doesn't align with our values as a corporation.
And as cutthroat and profit driven as we can say David Zaslav is.
We love David Zaslav
That's
here.
just a meme. Like HBO Max is still airing Velma.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like they're not cutting enough corners if that got through.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, Mindy Kaling's got a name. People.
By
know
the
her.
way, Mindy Kaling, I'm sorry I'm harping on this, but like Mindy Kaling already had a show named after herself called The Mindy Project.
Think she
How narcissistic do you need to be?
think she thinks she sells any kale products? Kaling kale
That's her brand.
should be her brand. So it's the Kanye stuff. It's like they're talking about how he's in a bad place mentally, and they're making it out like Candace Owens is like manipulating him.
Well, that she's some kind of evil mastermind when she just invited him to a party.
And that they're in constant contact. Like I imagine his group chats are wild.
Oh my God, they have to be.
Well, he posts screenshots of all of his private text messages anyway, so
I would love to
I haven't seen him post screenshots of his texts with Candace Owens.
I would love to see Kanye like have you ever seen like the people who did like the there was a guy who took like Instagram pictures of like people and he blew them up to like poster size or life size portraits and stuff to see if the pictures held the same artistic value. It's like taking random social media posts and turning it into modern art. I want to see somebody turn Kanye West black square posts into modern art where they actually turn them into physical blocks, like physical square blocks with the words printed on them.
Well, the chaos of his feed on Instagram is so attractive to people because the rest of that platform is very manicured and curated and branded.
And what they can do with the Kanye pieces, it's on like a podium, right? And it's just a big black square with the post on it. And when you buy it, it just disappears after a while because he always deletes.
How about like a cube that each?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then it goes away after a while.
I've never actually seen Kanye's Instagram. I'm looking at it now. I didn't know that this is how it
Well,
operated.
he constantly deletes newer posts. So there's another account called Kanye's Posts that posts everything he posts before he deletes it.
That is interesting. Yeah, he only has 12 posts up at a time, I guess.
because he deletes
Yeah.
them.
Interesting.
So somebody should do that. Some modern artist should take it and it just evaporates after a while into the abyss.
I do believe that guy who was doing that, didn't he get sued?
Yeah, he did
It's
for
just
like he
influential.
was using pictures of people without their consent.
Yeah.
Even though technically, as soon as you post it on Instagram, it's not really yours
that should be
anymore.
public, right?
Yeah, it's not really yours anymore. But
Really?
I guess
Yeah.
it technically belonged to Instagram.
to Instagram, not to him. So
What if
he
you
doesn't-
post artwork on Instagram?
Instagram has that. Instagram can use it for whatever they want. Like if
No
Instagram
way.
wants to use it for like advertising, I believe so. Like if you look into the thing, like anything you post on Instagram becomes.
Wow.
They don't own it independently from you, but they're allowed to use it in promotional material.
Okay.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And what about every website? If you post, because I imagine that same type of licensing liability would apply to anywhere. So if you post artwork on any website, potentially they could sell it.
Imagine all the crap DeviantArt owns.
Right.
Well, I don't know if they can sell it, but they can sell themselves with it.
With it, yeah.
Oh, I
like
see, I
they,
see.
they can market with it. Like, cause like every time
I've
you
seen that.
every time you
Okay.
log into Facebook, and like what's better? Do they get the generic photo of a bunch of happy looking people, or do they take pictures of people like directly from their pages and stuff like that?
Which is a little creepy.
All
Yeah,
of it's
that would be
creepy.
weird.
Have you seen the skits now that they're doing about like it's like the guy? It's like you're at a company function, like the company photographer's there, and he goes up to all of the people that like all of the minority people. It's like, can you get to the front of the photo? And it's like all the people like don't want to be because they feel like they're being used.
Right.
And it's like that's a thing like where they're like, we need to prove how diverse we are. It's like, well, if you have to like find me to be at the front of the photo, how diverse are you really?
Yeah.
If you have to like seek out the one employee, like yeah, it's all corporate. Let's go to super chats.
Okay. Bobby says, look, the cart jockeys need carts to jockey. Gotta have some free range cart wrangling to break up the monotony of factory carting.
Fair enough. If factory carting is the actual corral that they're in, then yes, maybe to keep their skills sharp, they need to go get a couple of carts from the back of the lot. I still don't think it's right though.
Tacti Platty said, Mary, I got my 5.3 GF, a big SUV, Napoleon vibe. I don't know. I still want a tiny smart car.
You can have both. Maybe you can have a smart car in the back.
Depending
of a giant
on my
SUV
vibe.
for the day.
Yeah. Chris Burtman said, rain booty by Yeezy.
I have message retracted on here, so it still showed up on the spreadsheet.
Why would he retract that?
I don't know.
That's what he was wearing in the red carpet photo.
Is that what he was wearing?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that suit needs to go, is all I'm saying.
Thank you, Chris Burtman. Jonah Schmitz said, Frankie Muniz didn't lose his memory. He went on Dancing with the Stars and told them he didn't remember any of the day-to-day filming, and they exaggerated the story. He talked about it on Steve-O's podcast.
Well, I mean, that's what the media does. They exaggerate. That's what they're good
sure.
at. They're like, wouldn't it be great, though, if you didn't
But I
remember
thought there
anything?
was some, like, neurological thing that was at play
Because he got in
there.
an accident, right? Like doing derby or whatever.
Let's fact check that.
But I do like, because you know that there's just some producer in the back who's like, wouldn't it be great if you just didn't remember anything? It's like, that's such a great story.
John in the future said, everyone memes Mary too much. So, Brett, if you could be any inanimate object, what would you be? Be careful. We will never stop making you into this object.
The Oscar statue, because then nobody would care about me. Even like I'd be completely left up to my own devices because nobody would care. Be an Oscar statue. That's what I want to be.
Okay, you're going to get melted down and made into something else more
Perfect.
useful. So,
Yes.
Mike Warsick sent us $5 with no message.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Matt said Exodus Cry enabled OnlyFans by debanking Pornhub. Changed my mind.
I don't know if I actually buy that because I think
Well,
that's
the
two different.
timeline's out of order.
And I think that those are two different types of platforms. I think that OnlyFans, there's a really good video, I believe, by Modern Wisdom called How OnlyFans Hacks Minds. And it's talking about the parasocial relationships that are built through something like OnlyFans, which is, it kind of, it falls into that category of we have a generation of extremely lonely men that have been kind of, that still have that innate instinct to want to provide for people, provide for someone, and it really does fall into that category of like they feel somehow this connection to a person that they don't actually have that connection to, and that's very different from just looking up random videos on a porn website. It's that social connection you think that you're feeling,
Really
the ability
weird.
to message them and actually get a response from them, which is not actually helping you progress.
Which is
as a
usually an
person.
automated.
Yeah, or like an
response.
assistant or something,
yeah.
depending
Yes.
on.
So, like, I don't really see them as the same thing.
Derek Null said, Mary, yes, both J.K. Rowling and Manson were physically protested by Christian right. I was 16 when Antichrist came out. Manson was public enemy number one.
Maybe it's a had to have been there.
I understand that they were protested, but there wasn't a censorship campaign on even a fraction of the level. There's a censorship campaign.
Well, maybe there was, but maybe there wasn't.
now.
But maybe the banks just, maybe that censorship campaign was just as vast, but the banks didn't acquiesce and give in.
It's an evolving thing where it's slowly moving this way. Like the idea of a bank, dropping someone as being able to have an account because they don't agree with their beliefs probably didn't exist before. And now whoever the first bank to ever do that was, they took the chance and they realized, wow, we actually have a lot more power than we thought over any corporation.
Yeah.
Like they have to play ball to us and we play ball to whoever we choose.
I think it was the payment processors that helped them realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when payment processors were just like, psych, we're not gonna, nope. Like don't have, can't use our PayPal. That's too bad. That's how you're doing your banking right now. Think of how many customers just quit PayPal finally because of all their stuff with misinformation, right? But where are they gonna go from there? They you can't if you're true and you're gonna quit PayPal because you don't believe in what they said there, then you better quit Venmo as well because that's owned by PayPal, right?
And Zelle and Cash App.
Yeah. I don't know if Cash App is owned by them, but you got to find your
But
alternative.
they all ban people.
Yeah. So you have to really if this is why I always take the approach where it's I understand the desire there to want to make a difference that way, but I also believe that it's sometimes a fool's errand, and it's am I going to really stop using Amazon because I don't like Jeff Bezos? No, I'm not. I've accepted that Amazon is just part of my life now. Do I like every decision they make? No. Do I like every decision that Apple makes? No, I guess I don't really use an iPhone. So, but I think it's very easy for people in the West to claim that they're protesting something without actually committing to all of the areas where these corporations hold as much power as they do.
Yeah, you don't realize just how much power they have. I mean, whenever the PayPal thing was happening, I was just thinking, if for some reason I thought I had to stop using PayPal, that means I'd have to stop collecting money from a lot of websites. There's some sources of income that only pay out through PayPal.
Yep.
And so it's all right, I think Bandcamp is one of them. So that means I just have to stop using Bandcamp or making money on it.
Yeah. So you have to kind of take the good with the bad and think about it as you can hold still to your beliefs, but that's where you have to develop your alternative options. Now we've got that with what's it called, parallel economy that's been launched, and there's but we talk a lot about how the Daily Wire is building their parallel economy in the film industry, and we really are going to end up in a weirdly segregated society based on ideological beliefs if this keeps going, and I think that. Back to what they were saying about Manson and all that stuff. There's also the just the fact that social media exists makes it different now. That there wasn't the ability to kind of plan and build coalitions around ideas the way there is now. So it seems more, maybe it was just as fierce back then, but it didn't seem as fierce to the corporations because you could get a bunch of letters in the mail, I guess.
Throw them away.
Get some angry emails, I guess, but it's not
I'm
the
sure
same.
the publisher for Harry Potter did not even shortly consider stopping the printing of those books, or I'm sure the record label for Marilyn Manson did not even briefly consider dropping him. And that's, I think, maybe because record labels and publishing houses have a lot of competitors, and a JP Morgan does not have competitors on its level, or if they do, then they are probably on the same page.
Yeah, they're all owned
working
by the
together.
same parent company.
Yep.
So they can cancel one and they can take a hit on one, but it doesn't really matter. The money goes up the same tree.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett, we care about you.
Oh, that's
How do you feel?
Well, I feel like Mary's the one who needs to be kind of told that, because they're always pushing back on you about the carts.
Yeah, I'm getting memed on. Yep. 1,000-foot deep end said, I thought Frankie suffered a stroke. Was
that what it was? It was a stroke? I thought he got into some type of accident.
Yeah, he did get into a suffered terrible injuries from a crash and put a stop to racing. I didn't actually click on the article. It's just
It's awesome that he's had such a weird, varied career that he just didn't stop at acting. He just went on to do other things. I like it.
Matt said, so the draw to OF is similar to Super Chats?
I don't know if I think that's the same thing, because I think that there's
it's obviously a lot less intimate.
Yeah, the sexual component obviously makes that very, very difficult, different. And I think in that case that there's kind of this innate way in which it's done in something like that, where it's very, very personal because it's private messages and stuff like that, and that's very different in that type of subscription just on that kind of platform. That's not the same thing.
Yeah. Lane said, defeatist and nihilistic, why fight if you can't win? Are you saying we're defeatist and nihilistic?
I'd like to think of myself as pragmatic, in that it's we're in a world where you have these are we get a lot of sloganeering and saying we need to do it this way, we need to do it that way, and that all sounds well and good one way, but it's a lot more complex. These problems are a lot more complex than a lot of people give them credit for.
Yeah, same with the path that it's going. We can speculate on where things are going, and if we don't fight it, then it absolutely will go the direct path to that thing. If you fight it and slow down its progression, then other factors can come in and kind of change what's happening, and it can evolve into something completely different. Yeah. But yeah, if you don't fight, then you're giving whatever the current issue or the current power is, you just gave them the game.
Yep. All right, let's do Podluck, Mary. Let's do Podluck.
Let's go.
And I want to first talk about, speaking of Harry Potter, because we were just talking about Harry Potter. Harry Potter star Tom Felton refuses to trash J.K. Rowling over her stance on what that the transgender ideology could erase womanhood. This is like the least hyperbolic Breitbart headline in the history of the world, so I'm here for it.
Go them.
Actor Tom Felton joined the ranks of Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes. I always say Phineas, but it's Ralph Fiennes. And Robbie Coltrane is one of the few Harry Potter cast members to support author J.K. Rowling in the face of unbending leftist criticism over her stance against transgender radicalism. What I found interesting about this is that he's the only one of the younger actors to not just immediately cave and basically turn on the person who gave them the careers that built them into gazillionaires who are very successful, part of the public eye. That always upset me a lot, because I think loyalty is important in a lot of cases like this.
Sure.
And in a lot of ways you could talk about, I'm not saying that they have to come out and be like, go watch What is a Woman or something like that, but maybe not talk on it.
Just say no comment.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a bummer. I always knew that Emma Watson would do this, because she's a more radical and newer version of feminist than Rowling
I
is.
remember when she spoke at the UN.
But does freaking Rupert Grint have to have nobody's looking to Rupert Grint for political views?
I guess the older actors may stay silent on these things just because they're less active on social media and they don't understand the issue that's being debated.
I love the idea.
Understandably so.
The old people are like, "What do you mean? What do you mean trans? What about? What? I don't get it." That's what they're saying. So it says, he says, "I can't speak for what other individuals have said." He said, I am constantly reminded that the Potterverse, certainly when we were finishing the films, that there was an expectation that the fandom would be dwindling slowly over the years, whereas most fans that say hello to me, shout Potter or Draco at me, weren't even born when the books were being made. And it really is this crazy enduring fandom that's like, I kind of meme on a bit, because I do think that like a lot of people who love Harry Potter, as somebody who loved the books growing up, I do think that they find a way to like fit everything that happens in the world and like look at it for context.
They interpret everything through
the
Harry
lens.
Potter, and that's their only example of like the archetypes of good and evil. Voldemort is the only villain.
Yes.
Just the comparisons of Trump and Voldemort.
It's still shocking to me that Harry Potter was around before you were born.
Yeah.
And SpongeBob, if I was to guess.
Didn't SpongeBob start in like 2003?
1999, if I remember
Really?
correctly.
Oh, okay. That too then.
Yeah. So
That's insane.
You're like, well, it's nap time. When this is over, it's nap time. That's
Okay.
fine.
Or mainly, I guess what's shocking is that they're still
Relevant.
they're still relevant. Like the idea that SpongeBob has been around so long and it's still like this weird new refreshing thing that's creating all these memes is
So it's,
Odd.
he keeps going. He says, I'm quick to remind myself and others that Potter, for some reason, has brought more people together across the world in more generations than probably anything else has in the past 20 years. And I'm quick to celebrate that, he added. It came from one person, and that's her, and I'm very grateful. What's interesting about that is he's kind of right.
Like Emma Watson, on the other hand, would say that unity that spans across generations, that they both love this thing, they love this story and these characters. She would say she brought that about.
And that's the ultimate in...
Emma Watson thinks she made herself Emma Watson.
No.
And it was J.K. Rowling's rather unique creative control as an author over the adaptations that gave them their roles. Yep. She had an immense amount of control there.
She's the last example you'll ever get of an author getting complete control over their work before these companies realize the power of IP.
So I don't expect House of the Dragon stars to be thanking George R.R. Martin for their roles or whatever. But this is a unique situation where you really cannot shun her and not look like
it's
the bad guy in that situation.
It's not the executives that gave you this, it's her.
Yeah.
And what's funny about this is even as now, there's new games coming out last year or 2 years ago, and there's people who just hate her guts now that are they're looking for ways to get the game and still be part of it without crediting her. There is a actual Quidditch. You know what Quidditch is in the there's an actual Quidditch league in the real world where they play with fake broomsticks.
So they started calling it
I forgot the name off the top of my head. I wish I.
They had to change it because of copyright.
No, because they don't want to be associated with her.
Oh, really?
I forget
thought copyright
why
was a part of it.
I feel like I heard both of these.
Yes, but either way, a lot of people were the creator doesn't reflect our values.
And they have very intense inclusion rules. You have to have 3 out of 5 people on any team.
Can't be men, or you can only have 3 men per team or something like that.
Per 5 people.
Per 5, yeah.
At most.
It's the definition of new school progressivism. You're not gonna find anybody there that's not hyper progressive, unfortunately.
Well, I was advised not to say the R word, but Quidditch is probably the most R worded sport ever.
They're literally running
the
around
real
with
life.
sticks
Who the hell are
in their
these people?
crotches and pretending it's a sport when they're just LARPing.
It's and if it's LARPing, that's fine.
They were really good at creating the promotional footage for it, though.
Yes.
It made it look like it was a real sport.
So all of this because J.K. Rowling had the temerity to say that that they're erasing women through the being they would call her a TERF, a trans exclusionary radical feminist.
Another thing interesting about the Quidditch controversy, it's a contact sport.
Yeah.
They tackle each other. That seems like the breeding ground for all sorts of complaints.
Just dudes who just want to hit women.
Dudes who want to hit women, dudes who want to grope women.
Yeah. It's
I don't know.
And there's just one big dude on every team who just clearly is just there to just hurt people that he wouldn't be allowed to hurt in the real world.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the exclusive report on that.
So I have to give Tom Felton credit for not caving to something and showing a lot of I like the phrase standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Your career was made possible by somebody from a generation before you that created something that will stand the test of time long after these actors have gone and passed. These books will still have cultural relevance, and long after she's passed, these books will have cultural relevance. And it's not just Harry, it's not just Watson, it's not just Radcliffe, not just Rupert Grint. But I love the idea of Rupert Grint having opinions on politics, just because he's so kind of just bleh.
Wasn't he in The Patient?
Yeah, something like, and he's he bought it. His big thing was he bought an ice cream truck with his Harry Potter money. That was he kind of was maybe it was the media. Maybe the media kind of turned him into a fool. He became a product of look how quirky he is. But also Eddie Redmayne called this out too, and Eddie Redmayne's my age. I'm sure. He's not.
Yeah,
he's not in his early 20s. So it's you can't expect anyone with any backbone to stand up for themselves. But maybe it's also because Tom Felton's he's been less visible than Radcliffe and Watson. Rupert Grint
for obvious reasons.
Yeah. So
Is he having any backlash from this, like realistic backlash?
Not yet.
Okay.
But yeah.
It's kind of the bare minimum. It's sort of like, please don't hate the fans and please don't hate the authors of the original IP you're making your careers off of.
Yeah.
Speaking of not hating the fans, I want to talk about The Rock. I do.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I'm never going to call
On
him
that
Dwayne.
note.
I'm never going to call him Dwayne Johnson.
Are you going to call him Dwayne The Rock
No.
Johnson,
he's just The
or
Rock.
is that too many syllables?
He's just The Rock. I think that The Rock knows that his movie's coming out soon, and he's got his last-ditch effort to really build up some good vibes for
you
his
think
film.
he's worried it's not going to do well?
Well, I mean, they're betting low. They're saying $75 to $80 million, which for a superhero movie these days, I mean, I feel like a movie with him and a famous DC character from the Justice Society, I think that they should be making $100 million on this movie opening weekend, but they're not going to. They're saying $70 to $80 million is the guess here. But remember, we've talked a lot about how movies should be worried less about great opening weekends and more about making actually good films that get good word of mouth, because movies with longer legs are the ones that are making all the money these days. Maverick had a $100 million opening, sure, but it also stayed in the top 10 for like a gazillion weeks. So it says Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Damn it, I said Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The Rock on Black Adam post-credit scene. Listen to the fans. So he talks about it in here. He says he's bringing the conflicted DC Comics book character to the big screen for the first time. During an appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, he spoke at length about the movie, the character, and cameos in the post-credit scene. He's also been talking quite a bit about how they're going to have Superman in it, like actual Henry Cavill Superman, and not just generic at the shoulder length.
Yeah, right.
Which they did in Shazam. They just had a buff dude in a Superman suit. You couldn't see his face. So it says, we want to build the DC universe, introduce Black Adam, and introduce other characters as well in the Justice Society of America. The JSA is a superhero group that predates the famous Justice League. And he says, quote, I have been saying this is a new era in the DC universe that I love. Yes, we are going to introduce new characters, but also the new era means that we listen to the fans. Henry Cavill said very much the same thing when they were promoting The Witcher on Netflix, right? He was saying, like, they're like, they had like one of the Weasley interviewers, looks like super beta. It's like, what do you think about these toxic fans? And he's like, well, I don't think fans are toxic. I think they're passionate about the materials that we're adapting,
right,
and that's okay. But it's
listen
kinda,
to the fans is a set of magic words.
Yes.
Now maybe The Rock knows that.
Talk about accepting
in a cynical way.
Talk about accepting the bare minimum on our part. Like, well,
Yeah.
well, fine, well, anything. Just don't tell us we're awful, and actually listen to us when we ask for stuff. It's like battered fan syndrome. Like, we'll just take whatever the hell we can get.
For years, fans have been screaming. They've been upset.
Yes.
I don't know. Like, have they been screaming?
Yes. Yeah, I do think that that's true. So he said, we established the atom as the most powerful and unstoppable force on this planet. The most powerful and unstoppable force in the entire universe has been on the sidelines for too long. And it's, he's a good ambassador.
He's a good speaker.
He made kind of cringe comments during the election that I thought were that I really wish he'd stayed out of.
All celebrities
should
have
stay out of.
Lest
you go
instances
the way
where
of,
they do that.
Yeah.
But I don't see him becoming this president of the studio like a lot of people are
calling for.
Yeah. He doesn't have it in him as an executive. He's never been in a position like that, but he is good at speaking in a grandiose way. He has a vision. So
and he's got a likable
that's cool.
personality if you're like a less initiated person. Like if you're like, it's kind of like when John Cena did the apology to China.
Mm-hmm.
Like John Cena is a very like affable guy. Like he's like, he's all right, but then he makes that speech about like apologizing to China and just lost a bunch of like respect.
There's
from a lot of
something
people.
weirdly corporate
about
him.
Yeah. And then they advertise who's in the movie, which is Pierce Brosnan, Aldous Hodge, Sarah Shahi, and Noah Centineo. Is that how you pronounce it? Centineo.
He was in The Kissing Booth on Netflix.
Well, believe it or not, I didn't watch The Kissing Booth on Netflix. So
I didn't either.
I saw it.
Did?
I believe there's a second one as well.
Oh my
God.
it?
It was it was dumb, but it's like something you could just watch to kill time.
Yep. Well, it's like what Netflix is there for.
I think it's funny that that's how Joey King got her start.
Yeah, and she's big now.
Yeah.
I do want to point out that Sarah Shahi is in this movie, and I am a huge Sarah Shahi stan. So that is a good thing. I'm kind of surprised because she's like my age or a little bit older, and usually they would go with a younger actress for those roles. So that's really cool. Aldous Hodge is a fantastic actor. I don't know if he should be playing Hawkman, but that's just me.
Why not?
That's one of those characters. There's going to be a lot of people complaining about race swapping Hawkman. That's just going to be a thing.
Is that part of his lore?
I don't think so. He's really great. If you never saw Leverage, go watch the show Leverage. He was in that show.
Haven't they race swapped Black Adam?
I don't know.
He used to just be Adam.
Like it's
right.
I don't know, like if The Rock fits that. I don't know.
Like
what
I don't think Black Adam was Samoan.
I don't. Yeah. But Sarah Shahi's great. The rest of that cast is great, and obviously Pierce Brosnan is one of the better actors that's working today. So we will see how it goes. But yes, we can hope that the bare minimum can be expected of people to just not treat fans like crap. Is that so much to ask?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, do not S all over the people who you're trying to appeal to.
Yeah. So it's sad that we have to actually ask that question, but here we are. So, all right.
We got one super chat. Action Man Professional Hater said Potterheads are cringe. Is that what they're called?
I mean, I've never called them that, but yeah, it's kind of cringe.
Potterheads.
All right. All right. Rusty, man, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. This has been fun. This is an exciting show.
It is. Yeah, well, it takes some time to get used to the money guns, like shooting at your face. Like,
it's cool.
We're lucky. Like, I actually just goes
it's
by
aimed
us.
directly at you, and we're just watching it.
So let everyone know where they can find you.
YouTube.com/Rusty Cage.
Perfect, man. Mary.
You can find me on Instagram or Twitter, both at Mary Archived. I also forgot to shill yesterday for our referral link in the description. It helps us earn points for Jeremy's Razors competition to win his McLaren or $250K in cash if you use our link to get $12 off a Jeremy's Razors Founders Kit or 35% off a Daily Wire Plus membership. So go use that. Help us earn points. We want to win.
Yes, we do. And there's one more super chat there.
Caper2X said Hawkman is not human, but Thanagorian MP.
I was they did Hawkman in Legends of Tomorrow. It was kind of meh. It is what it is. I love Aldous Hodge as an actor, though, so we'll see. He's actually one of those people. I've seen him do a couple things where in that in the show Leverage, he would purposely do bad accents because kind of the gimmick of the show is that it was kind of it's like a drama comedy sort of, but it leans into the comedy elements. So they would be they're criminals who would like take down corporate CEOs and executives who like ripped people off.
Okay.
And he would sometimes do these like really funny accents that were very clearly bad. Like he doesn't sound like he's like a guy from like Zimbabwe or something. He's like, and then I read all 600 pages of your book, and he's like it's like purposely really bad because he's like, look how dumb this guy is to believe that his accent would actually sound like that. But then I've seen him in other things where he's actually doing like real accents, and it's cool to see that he's actually able to do them. But they're like, could you like maybe do this but bad?
Right. Yeah. Like don't be convincing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. All right. There's one more there.
Tacti Platy asked PCC meme review tomorrow.
Do we do it tomorrow?
We have Ian on tomorrow.
Do we?
What do you think?
What do you think, guys?
Or should we have Dane on? He would feel very jilted if he didn't get to do meme review with us. But I feel like it's a Friday activity, a fun casual thing.
It does. Maybe we'll have to huddle on this one and figure out whether we do meme review tomorrow.
Potatoes for Seamus said I second Tacky Platy.
I don't know. I feel like we need Dane for meme review. He's already mad at me for not watching Survivor.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Maybe guys.
Tensions are high in the studio.
I think we're gonna save meme review for Dane on Monday, so that will be the executive decision that we're making. And then from there, maybe after that, we give Dane like an ultimatum, like, hey, you can.
If you want meme review, you got to come on Friday.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic for the show. We are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We are also on social media, Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. If you would like to listen rather than watch the show, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And before we go, we've got two more here, Mary. Go for it.
Oh, 1,000 Foot Deep End said meme review needs Dane. True. And Matt said, description says, closer kitty, stop charging me, lol.
I have to change your in the description for the video. I have your old
I changed
at.
my Instagram at.
All right. So I guess then the executive decision has been made. 1,000-foot deep end says meme review needs Dane.
Monday.
So we will do the meme review on Monday. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Later.
Bye.